Good evening, Castling crowd. I see that you're ready to crown your evening with an articulate Armageddon game. Let's jointly advance into the Grandmaster's pastime that is ETF2L's own 606 Season 49 upper bracket final. On the board, we have Witness Gaming ready to approach their competitor MANDEM. And as my co-annotator, I bring you Rook with the fabled, the legend STU, Stew on production. Rook, I am already talking about the elephant in the room. We both survived LAN. That is why we're here.
Yeah, no, certainly glad I didn't catch the lurgy on that one. And very glad to have watched some absolutely, indubitably brilliant games. And, I mean, while we were there, we got to see this matchup twice already. And, well, we're looking at a third. And, well, if we go to grand finals even, we may even get that fourth. This matchup has been absolutely brilliant to watch. And I'm 100% here to see more of it.
So am I. I do second that statement. 3 times the charm, maybe 4 times the fearful matchup. But we have Witness Gaming versus MANDEM. I will pick this time around MANDEM's roster. We have Boulder on the Pocket Scout, Inzo on the complementary Flank Scout, Horns on a Soldier, Rons on a Soldier, Zams on Demoman, and June is on Medic. And who is on Witness Gaming?
On Witness Gaming, you got Tomas over on that Pocket Scout, Ixie on the flank, you got Pappy and Lucas Stank, and Hugo, on the Soldiers, Lucas Stank on that Demo, and Auto joining on the Medic.
You don't have to wait for that much of a prolonged period of time. Do not worry, we will go and start shortly, but we're starting out on Granary. After that Sunshine, then Gullywash will be the decider. You all know it. Witness Gaming, 6 wins, 1 loss. This famous loss versus 4 wins in week 1, and MANDEM, their record is 5 wins, 1 tie versus Venomcrest, and 5-1 loss versus Witness Gaming in week 3. So on face value, they haven't taken a single map of Witness Gaming yet, but they're here to prove their point.
Yeah, and as you said before, 3rd time's the charm. Hopefully, this is the chance for MANDEM to be able to take them down. Now, online, MANDEM have generally been a little stronger. Their LAN performance was certainly no slouch, but they had better performances than potentially they had against against specifically this team, against Witness on that LAN. So I'm interested to see whether they're going to be able to really pull it together, really find those opportunities, because there definitely did look like some weakness. I mean, we saw Witness, for example, slip up on LAN versus blokes of some description. I can't remember exactly the team name. So they definitely look like they're woundable. They definitely look mortal. Let's see if they can be slain.
Indeed, and let's unload our Soap DM. In the red, we have MANDEM. So, handem, give a handem, MANDEM fandom, to MANDEM rolling out on red. And the blue faction Rook here is approaching the midpoint. That is Witness Gaming.
Yeah, looking to see if they can witness an opportunity to take control of this mid early on here, as we do see already the Demo is starting to take control over a lot of space right now. Soldiers don't commit too hard, but there we see it. Witnesses Soldiers jump right forward and try and claim over the majority of that aggression, and manage to trade out a little bit here, even taking down Pappy.
A stray pipe from Zams, however, is equalizing things greatly. Now it is Horns with a counter jump on Ixie, and they were able to so easily bunker in their choke. Not really what you expect, since aerial dominance by those Witness Gaming soldiers, but able to deal with them. Lucas a little bit caught, but ultimately backs out.
Yeah, good positioning from Lucas, trying to make sure that doesn't get caught in that choke, get boldly completely denied, because while they did manage to deal with the opposing Demo, they did lose quite a lot of players in that initiative exchange. Again, putting themselves in the choke, this time managing to make it out, and Thomas almost picks up a player, but the health of MANDEM kept afloat for now by June.
Otto has to navigate out very weak damage numbers on his own face, and it's very interesting since now we have a trade out on the flank. We see one soldier dying to his fellow compatriots, or even evened out anyway. June is now healing, runs upward as he is appending himself. Nothing really is found, however.
Could be a decent bit of damage. They take down June! Oh my lord! Lucas just catches them there. And with Boulder going down as well, this is complete combo detonation. They won't. No, they will in fact kill Zams at the very end there. That's an easy cap coming through. Ixie's going to stack on that one. And then they're going to push through to second, I believe. They've got a couple of players trying to make sure that that's not too much of a problem. But without a Demo, it's going to be difficult to really cordon this one off.
What is this weird matchup here from MANDEM? Was it an experiment, but Angst temporizing was not really on the table since June caught in transition? Was that a pressure play? It seemed to be that way. However, June taking so much damage, and that Uber now is void in their own hands. Nothing here to oppose the 100% on auto.
No way they can deny that one at all. They tried to play the snipe to get the force earlier. The century is gone immediately, just clearing those sticks off and looking for that time. Ixie's just playing on it. So goes right on in, takes them off the board with a little bit of backup here, with no boulder. He's just down to Inso to try and hold defense for their team. Lucas taking a lot of damage, but not able to go down just yet. Pappy kept alive by Auto for now, but you can see it right there. Lucas just stands on the point and they can't step to. Witness Gaming kick things off pretty quickly.
The pressure abates. It was all in Inzo's hands, slurping on his Inzotonic drinks, but alas, some vitamins were a little bit lacking. It's very interesting as well. I talked about it earlier. You have a double soldier bomb on mid, and usually that helps you on the side of Witness Gaming since you make the enemy team at least lose position. But MANDEM able to not only walk out again since they had the high ground control from their scout and Zems hitting the pipes, but afterwards, very weird conversion rate. I did not at all see why June dropped there, but we're in a secondary mid-fight.
Indeed, we are again. Keep an eye on these scouts on high ground. Thomas probably providing some of that pistoling down and watching for players like Rons to come in for that bomb, but they're not going to get much space off the back of that. Currently, Auto just sitting behind the crates, making sure the team has to help to push on forward, and Lucas will do just that. Very happy to make that move forward, but they don't use anything just yet. A lot of damage onto some of these players, but I don't think it's going to lead anywhere. Will actually be some good rockets that, well, no, don't quite damage out Zams, who manages to definitely dodge around that one, but that's a good jump, and we'll get right on top of Auto, but Auto somehow desperately survives, dodges through that one, and even makes it, no, just barely dies, Volta clips them at the end. And
Very
what
ephemeral
a
state.
messy fight.
Very ephemeral state, full wipe on your screen. You can see it here, Ixie taunting. Rightfully, Inzo, well, that is quite similar. But what I wanted to say, Ixie won that fight for his team early on. Fantastic focus fire on the soldiers, which meant they couldn't initiate together. But afterwards, it was, well, anyway, that is long in the past. Do not care about that at all. 80% now on June. She is already buffing her players up alive. And let's see where MANDEM want to traverse this time. Thomas on Sniper.
It's a reversal of roles, right? The Uber pushing into last, this time in favor of MANDEM. They are not ones to take this lying down. Uber popped immediately, they don't want to get sniped, get pushed quite far away. That sentry is still alive, does go down now. Very few sticks on the point. Enzo is already on top of that one, getting a lot of time as Lucas is trying to make sure Boulder cannot step to, does just that, but they lose so much in the initial exchange. The heavy isn't even alive for long enough. They do kill Enzo, but it's going to be the round regardless, and MANDEM strike right back. It is going to be a game of tennis.
Crazy. That is 5 to love, 1-1 so far. It is flipping from one last to the other. But what I wanted to say earlier on this mid, very tactical play. Ixie won for his team the early skirmish, shooting one soldier out, couldn't initiate the double bomb on the face of who that is, MANDEM. But afterwards, it was an absolute drive-by frag from Hans, shooting 2 rockets on the same scout, or 1 rocket on 2 scouts, I should rather say. Then on Auto, so much damage, honestly. Hans won the mid-fight. 4-team, now enter the third mid-fight. Boulder, Inzo, very much positioned on the high ground.
Yeah, ready, trying to put that pressure on. Pappy jumps in, but fades away. It's instead the jump that comes in from Hugo to try and find that damage. They do take down Horns, but that's off the back of Lucas tank. The pressure and the distraction is more than enough. And, well, for now, Zams manages to make it out very low, but gets that dart. Goes too aggressive there, trades with Pappy, but that's not a trade you want.
Well, he couldn't back out. He was completely trapped in behind. He only had 50 HP, then 1 bolt, but the scouts were too fast. So they already want to converse here into that last point, migrating on that little pipe. That is what you want. Hugo bombing out might be lacking in the fitness. Ultimately, they lose 1 player. Rons is on here for the chase. Lucas tank turned into a bunch of bloody bits, but they do secure the second point for so far. Inzo very low. Rons as well, so not enough health numbers.
It's going to be them looking again to try and contest out. Boulder swinging wide and providing some space for their team, wanting to do so with that beam, but a lot of explosives headed their way, meaning that they can't quite get what they want. They get second, yes. They managed to hold on to it pretty well, but that yard is still beyond them.
Lucas is so very weak. Apparently he's rolling out. Don't worry. But what was also very weak, I got my ear distracted there a little bit by the fact that, Rons and Boulder were weak, but the other players from the left side, from MANDEM, seen from the attacking point of view, they were able to plaster their damage on the same players. But 1-1 might be a stalemate. I see Hugo, hungry hippo in the lunchbox.
I was looking for a chance, but Happy, again, providing that spam to try and get their team on in. Takes a decent amount of damage. But Ixie and Hugo, as you said, just currently trying to provide that pressure on the side. He can get some help, as Haunts is looking to catch someone, but takes a lick of damage on their own. And Lucas almost gets caught there, gets popped up a little bit by the explosive, but doesn't go down. It's going to be a little bit of towing the line right now for the Pocket Scout of Witness, but they can't quite do it. It's going to be left up to the soldiers instead. Now they're going to look towards that last.
It was ultimately Hugo opening up this entire second point for him, since he shot Inzo so low on top, so one scout was forced out. He couldn't also repeat, and Hans is turned into a bloody pulp, and that might be able to open the door so very widely. You can see Otto and Thomas, they're already in here, and Rons tries to counter jump, but some projectiles are flung their way. I think they want to turn this into a dry fight to force the enemy team, but simply no positioning. Happy has to deal with Rons on top, can't initiate.
Yeah, Ixie was trying to make that happen. Happy drops on in as well. They were really trying to get something, some committal out of MANDEM. But MANDEM, they don't bite the bait. They are absolutely aware of what they do. They know what Witness get up to. As you said, these teams have played quite a few times, so they're wizened up to their tricks. Body blocked Horns. Nicely done by Hugo. Sets up for that kill.
Otto
but
is
Lucas
caught here.
gets
He's
caught.
employed.
Otto is forced in the corner here. That's going to be a trade coming through in the end, but this is not a great position for Witness Gaming. They don't have enough players, I feel, to really provide them support. But look at that. Trying to get aggressive, and Ixie is dominating on the side.
Yeah,
this guy is so crazy.
Hugo is still on that little spawn here, and June is completely trapped in behind, and that is a wonderful conversion. You can see it here. Otto was imploring Thomas to team up with him, and then they had a solo scout flash, and the enemy team had to flash 3 players. Hugo, again, snucking in from the flank before he cleaned off the flank. This time he's in a perfect position to take this Uber, and that's a 2-1 with sort of just fantastic baiting them in, but wonderful Uber trade creates a 2-1 lead for Witness Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Witness Gaming is they see these opportunities in the smallest of margins, and I think Ixie on the flank scout has been a huge part of that in seeing it. Obviously not creating them as much as some other classes, but capitalizing on them. Ixie has been on point season long, and looking to do even more to claim the season.
Let's model the fourth mid-fight here. It is very, very much the same as the previous mid-fights we've seen, exemplified by soldiers bombing after 5 seconds have expired, but the scouts always control the high ground, so it makes it difficult to even traverse into the enemy team. Inzo is shot apart, but Zems as well. Now the bombs from Papi. Oh no, Papi. The enemy team is now in the respawn.
Yeah, Boulder has to get out of there as quick as possible or feed in. Neither are a particularly great choice in this situation. I mean, the fact that Inzo goes down so early there means that MANDEM just don't have the ability to deny away those soldiers. They get in deep, they catch Zams pretty quickly, and from there it's just nowhere near as effective. Inzo will be over on that sniper, will be able to survive, but can't say much for the left-hand side of this point, and Last is already completely under the control of Witness Gaming, who locked that away. They're going to look for a chance to get some time. Haunts is spamming off, wants to contest as much as he can, takes down Lucas, and Boulder is chewing through them, but it's just to no avail, as Witness Gaming keep their eyes on the prize. MANDEM can't make it happen.
Not a novelty in its core to see this 3-1 lead now, and Witness Gaming taking it slowly as this game progressed. We saw that multiple times earlier when they faced off each other, but it all starts on those mid-fights. Witness Gaming are able to recognize, this time around, shoot a lot of suppressive fire on Zems. Before he was able to keep himself alive with some pipes, but ultimately that was too much, especially for the scouts to deal with, since like they empty their clips there on medium distance, but we might have some 1 or 2 reserve pistol shots. However, already 5th mid-fight.
Yeah, already we have been speeding through this one in a pace that I didn't expect from Granary, but speaking as beating Hordes, takes down Auto, sets up the rest of the team. Ixie is trying to, recuperate anything from this exchange, but it's going to be June setting up the rest of their team. They're going to take this slow, and I think that's a good call from MANDEM here. They really don't want to mess this up.
June was also flung pencil surfing in the air. Eventually it is now Ixie against the world, against Boulder on top. Zems is charging him, has the very able heals provided by June, and they will claim that point. And not only then claiming the point, also claiming an 80% Uber advantage, which is much needed, since 18 minutes, still a lot, on face value, but if Witness Gaming were even to cap 2 more, then yeah, that new rule says this map is over. However, they still need to tide out. And if you look on your left side of the screen, it's good screen.
Ooh, a good call here, honestly. I think it might be nice because we've seen a lot of teams kind of ride out that wave of the Uber, especially here on last. So having that crits to kind of capitalize, I mean, it can be very effective.
It definitely can try to pluck it out a little bit, be cheeky with it, zap the enemy team up. Their vitality. You can do it with a sticky trap as well.
Oh man, that's just so brutal. The kind of momentum at all that MANDEM had, completely gone now. They've got to wait for Zams, they've got to set that up. Though, it doesn't matter so much when Auto's already on that crit spree. It's going to matter a lot less than it would otherwise. But keep in mind, Thomas is over on the heavy. That crit spree is going to be one hell of a problem.
It's also very fruitful, just, well, the mental exercise that you have to practice here is that Auto is aware, if I build up an Uber, I would have had an Uber like 2 times by now, but I'm insinuating on MANDEM that even though they were gaining the traction, the velocity would have probably taken a little bit of a chill pill, now only shooting rather on Lucas Tank from the right with Boulder and a beam on there.
Nice. Hugo goes down, and so will set their team up as Zams jumps sky high, desperately trying to make it happen as the parachute will take down no one else, but you know, it was a nice try.
It's a nice try. He's compressed in mid-air, however, and that was a very high bomb. And again, Witness Gaming won't even push up that, so you can be very, very free. And Luke is so weak! 10 HP, double digit only, then Boulder meets his fate by the sentry gun, who was a little bit further advanced, and Thomas is checking in spawn whether or not any off-classes come out of Boulder respawning.
I actually really like this from Boulder on kind of two angles, that yes, you can go for the off class, but I'm gonna be real with you, and Inzo does actually go to sniper, it's not Boulder, but it's actually really amusing to me because I think that Lucas generally does play really aggressive, especially on these positions that some demos are a little bit more reserved on. Obviously it can find big value, but you know, I respect that MANDEM could absolutely just run through and kill him if he's not prepared.
I mean, Boulder is opening the shutter, and we already called it. Inzo takes up the sniper rifle since you don't want your pocket scout to really be on this off-class choice. No, you want to have him lead the charge after Inzo tries to get the hero shot. He's already peeking through the stick.
Oh no!
Playing a conduction. It doesn't even sap the enemy team of his vitality. The bomb from Puppy.
Oh my god, that crit coming through huge from Auto to kill 3. Does actually manage to make it out as well. It's going to swap over to the regular Uber. They get the force. That was pretty much perfect scenario. Witness. Maybe if you kill the medic, that gets a little better, but you know, beggars can't be choosers, right?
They can be fraggers, however, beggars can be fraggers. We see a lot of tick boxes checked off now, but it only really allows Auto to switch back to the Medigun. And now, if you are from across the pond, you can say, oh, European TF2. Well, apparently European TF2.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we had a Canadian on the cast over on Frost Hazard earlier, and they were, you know, a little bit surprised by some of the stalemates we had. But you know, it's a good choice here. I think it's absolutely. This game don't want to slip up as Uber comes on it, and that sentry gun is gone pronto. Thomas is going to try and get away here. Does in fact slip away. It's going to be able to change that class. And Horse is taking off the ball with the crits from Ixie.
Finally, Auto has his...
overall in that position is not looking great. They do get the Uber to come on through, but it's June who has to leave here. They don't have the Uber because they'd already used it.
That could have gone so awry for Witness Gaming, since Auto didn't realize that he was healing players that were staying in the dispenser, and he was staying in the dispenser himself, so he builds slower than his opposing medic, and that was 20% Uber disadvantage for him, albeit they started building at the exact same time frame, and now he still even so has a 30% Uber disadvantage since able to pop so much later, being bombed. This is a real opportunity now for MANDEM.
Yeah, this is exactly what they need, but they're going to have to do quick. The swap over to the heavy for Ixie. Thomas is still over on that sniper. He's going to try and catch something, but the Uber's popped right away. They instantly shut off that left-hand side, but there's soldiers above, and they need to catch someone here. It's Ixie and Haunts who trade away, but it's not much more, as Zams is the one to fall, and that Uber advantage is completely squandered. And now Witness look at this and go, well, That's a right old near 100 Uber ad.
Thomas is running trains on these people. Balder leaves through yard, and you could see how nothing was protecting Zems. And if you have already emptied your stickies and your pipes, you need to hit 2 close-range pipes to deal with that scout. No way at that level of play. And now it is Thomas now charging through that choke. They have this full 100%. We don't see a high bump. We only see a soldier very low committal.
Comes on through here, manages to get that force. Rons is going to get out, but I think Mandem very sensibly choose to back up.
They inadvertently do, but what you usually expect, by the way, is Hans just high bombing, but he was sort of in a passive state, and now it is them charging through again in the 1v1 against Ixie on the flank. Can he win it? Can he prowl up on Pride? It is Rons helping us, his fellow compatriot. But Otto is cleaned up. Balder snuck in, and that was an Uber.
Yeah, really nice usage there. They know they had the ad, and they just went, well, let's kill Otto, let's kill Lucas, and, well, let's run through here, right? We've got everything we darn well need. It is going to be jumping on into 2 scouts, so got to be a little bit careful, but with the players, they will be able to hold out. They lose out on their demo, and some good damage is actually going on to June, who's desperately trying to dodge, and they win out. I'm so blown away by what Witness managed to pull out.
Thomas wants to collect another frag, 3k now for him. Disassociate yourself with the name that you're inflicting or being inflicted by from the enemy team, since that is such a daunting prospect. Honestly, a looming menace. Thomas is still charging through with his DM, and you saw the rotation out, 4k, and Witness Gaming want to turn Inzo into a bloody pulp. They are all charging through 1-for-1.
Yeah, I mean, it is looking brutal right now. Witness Gaming, give them an inch, they will take a mile. And it came off the back of a small slip up from Mandem. They went in, they used the Uber, they did actually get their med out, at least initially there. But then Witness Gaming went, okay, well, let's go, let's scrap, let's get crazy with it. And I think when there's chaos, Witness Gaming thrive.
They only then were able to perpetuate their own aggressiveness on Witness Gaming, and they're not even a team that is so prone to the chaos, but if it is coordinated chaos and you have the DM and you don't have emptied your clips, then you're definitely going to come out on top, especially in this yard fight where they were able to pincer them a little bit through with the damage and, well, splinter them then into splinter groups. Rons' high bombing doesn't really find enough though. Hans is dealt with by Lucas Tank Pipes. Zems is coming out though, and it is Zems winning this mid-fight so far, but only then Balder's chasing.
Otto manages to hit the arrow to go for it. Oh my god! Otto kills with the melee, but does go down in the end. What a crazy series of events, but it looks like it's going to be Pappy capping here with Hugo. We'll be getting that health pack, making sure they're all A-OK. And then capping.
Lucas Tank was only a just a divisionary sacrifice, honestly, how you would call that. But alas, we have only then surpassed the 10-minute mark, and Witness Gaming, they are hitting on another stride here with their plays. It's pretty crazy if you want to champion for the underdog. MANDEM, you called on early, or you touched on early, that maybe lacking a little bit with the fortitude on LAN, but alas, the mentality shift seems to be in their disfavor.
Yeah, oh my. He does get taken down, but they take back Haunts in reaction. This is the thing, is Witness don't let you get away with just one, and they'll just win those fights. Inzo's off the board, and Thomas just looks at that and goes, well, I'm low, I'm still winning these. The damage is going to be huge. They catch June in the door, and you can see Zams is trying to come through. Does trade in the end with a player, but Pappy still takes him down. That's the most important thing for MANDEM. Sorry, for Witness right now.
Whilst all this crazy action was ongoing, Rons was having a battle. He added on Granary mid and had some wonderful, well, deathmatch fight there for the enemy team, but soon thereafter, you called it out, the pin's movement was a little bit too strong. Otto now has 90% Uber advantage. Balder is only then building up his sentry gun. Inzo on the scout, on the sniper class rather. They have stickies forward and want to pounce through.
Yeah, they're looking at that left-hand side. And the fact that Rons can call that out means they are aware of it now. They can be in the position. Horde's in an interesting position that doesn't really tend to achieve much as the Uber is popped right away. The sentry's off. Players are standing on point. The stickies are trying to go down to deny, but they're already down players. Inzo gets behind, does at least manage to take down one. It continues to try and defend desperately as they just don't have the space. The cap comes through, and Witness Gaming have taken that one 5-1.
It's a derivative of LAN, apparently. the manifestation of Buridan's donkey. You don't really know what side you want to choose, so you starve either way.
Yeah.
MANDEM not able to really compete with not only that aggression, but with losing the mid fights. And they won, I think, 1 or 2 mid fights, but after that, Witness Gaming were so very eager to adapt. What was also very interesting, not only June falling down, as we have a cursory glance in a mere second on those logs, maybe that also tells some story. I would even say Auto died handily less there than June, but even still, if he didn't die that much less, June was always perpetually shot down to so low HP, and that really didn't help her team, since they weren't able to surveil this sort of Uber fight, since then Rons is on mid, and who is that? Inzo tries to assume the role of Boulder, because Boulder is doing different plays right now.
It does feel a little bit detached. I would like to say that I have a lot of respect for June's movement, right? I think June's movement is one of the best of meds in Prem right now. I think that only highlights just how terrifying a force Witness Gaming EU are. They constantly find that damage. It's so hard to escape them. And you can see that, right, in these stats right here. Lucas popping out 351 damage per minute. And frankly, the rest of their team is just following up behind. Tomas on 266, Papi on 281. And it's just so much to deal with. It's no wonder that MANDEM couldn't really keep track and keep pace in that way. So I would like to agree with you. I do think the MANDEM feel a little bit detached from each other right now. They need to shift up their algorithm if they're going to kind of change it from being a derivative land to being, well, more in their court is more what I'm looking to say. What do you think there's any difference that's going to be so huge enough to do that for them as we move into Sunshine?
They need to definitely disassociate, not with themselves upon each other, but with the enemy team, and sort of just put that psychological disadvantage out of your side. But what I really want to pin on as well is on the logs, Zems follows soon thereafter Lucas Tank, but only if you do a total calculation, because that is 70 damage per minute more on Lucas. The main problem is Zems damage mainly comes in from the mid fights, where he has to hit those last resort bayonet pipes to save himself, because his scouts are doing different plays. They are sort of trying to shoot soldiers that are then only fake high bombing. Let's compare the kills here. Ixi takes the primacy of the kills, 21 frags to him, 9 deaths. Thomas follows 16 deaths, 8 kills, and you see it wonderful here. I mean, I don't want to pound the rubble too much here on a 5-1, since that evidently is augmented a lot by the plays that you make, and then you definitely also do look better on logs. 4 deaths on Auto, 7 deaths on June, 1 drop out of June, but sort of even equal healing dished out. But to be fair, if I just quickly recapitalize of what I wanted to say, the mids need to work out a little bit better for MANDEM, and I hope that especially here on Sunshine, they're able to reciprocate by the sheer fact that, protect Zems. Honestly, they need to protect Zems. That is where they are starting.
100%. I think it should be a little bit more doable here. Granary, obviously a map where soldiers can absolutely reign supreme. So I think here on Sunshine, while it's still pretty decent for soldiers, it's a little bit easier for the demo to stay alive. I do agree with you to a great extent. I think that kind of shows the flexibility and kind of like tactical prowess of Witness Gaming soldiers, right? I have to say that Papi and Hugo, and the way they kind of choose their fights whenever they want, and then they kind of fade away. And I think that all the time, Auto is ready to give that healing in. I think that kind of in terms of like ordering, like picking up on things and getting those arrows out in really quick time, Auto is absolutely on it like a carb on it. And I think it makes such a big difference in the uptime of their soldiers and how kind of much they're allowed to play around. And it makes the job hard for scouts, man. Like, you can't keep an eye on everything at all times and defend your demo and defend your and also progress the mid fight at the same time. You have a lot of jobs that are like in your hands, obviously, as a scout, because you're such a powerful class, but when you've got people so masterfully playing it on the soldier, it's a big difference.
Well, it's a difference here as well, since you don't have to win the deathmatch fight all around. You can also do a whole lot with your positioning and rotating them out, which is not really the case on Granary, so that might help them by this sheer passiveness, sheer passive rotation, honestly. But I want to up as well, since a few seconds are only counting down until we start into Sunshine after Witness Gaming slew MANDEM unceremoniously 5-1, I think, even on their map pick. But what I wanted to mention prior for my demo mains here in the chat, yeah, I know most demos say, I don't care if I die on mid as long as my team is winning the mid. Yeah, problem though, you don't win the mid because your, your efficiency is not unlocked, since you can't shoot the damage toward the enemy team if you're constantly being bombed. But Rook, that is also our duty here. We are on the plateau for everyone to see. What's your prediction on Sunshine? How will it turn out?
You know, I think it'll be a low scorer. I think Sunshine Last can sometimes be an absolute nightmare to really push into. I'm thinking it will be, I want to say 2-1, and I want to say MANDEM because I believe in them, right? It's a little bit of a far-fetched guess. I think right now, Witness Gaming just look really good. But I believe in MANDEM. I believe in their ability to come back from this. And if they can start to deal with some of that complexity in the soldier department with their scouts, they're going to look great.
They shall definitely do, and I will iterate until the semantic satiation hints in. Show your handem, MANDEM fandom. This is the last one saloon here for them. I hope instead of growing with the challenge, they are not shrunking with the requirements. We saw it on Granary, but now it is their time. On red, it is Witness Gaming. On blue, Lucas Tank enters through Flower. Very healthy he is indeed, and Zems only now receiving the aiding travels of his medic, but again, double soldier bomb. Otto is turned into the disfavor of his own team. Ron's jumping in.
Yeah, I think the big difference here is this time, MANDEM were able to capitalize off the over-engaging of Witness Gaming in that scenario. They will be jumping forward to try and take something, but Boulder holds strong for their team. And when this time we saw the committal towards Zams to try and deny him away, like we've seen so many times, this time, MANDEM stop it in its tracks, and Witness Gaming don't get the success that they had before.
What's also crazy is what people are always complimenting, that Lucas Tank is forward, he's still alive, and usually you think, yeah, come on Lucas, you're out of position, but he had a very ready volley of pipe for Hans, who was not able to clean him up, so a demo man on the field means can buy so much time for your crit streak. A little bit building up, you have mentioned it, 80% it is already.
Yeah, they're going to have to use it in the kind of post-Uber here, but it will make it absolutely devastating if they can set up for it properly. Here's the Uber coming on through. Sentry's gone immediately. Very defensive position for Witness Gaming, very sensibly so. Lucas, however, is caught. That's huge, but there it is. Thomas with the crits is going to pick off Jude instantaneously. Boulder's oh so low, and you can see the remainders of Witness Gaming are just making sure nothing of the sort is happening. It's that heavy with the Tomislav. He picks people out from range.
Another divisionary sacrifice on Lucas Tank, walking in, being blown into pieces, but afterwards the heavy weapons guy, and they had to multi 3 times on top right, which is usual when you push into a last on Sunshine. Witness Gaming, however, they do not want to push out.
No, as we said before, Sunshine Last is very difficult to push, right? But it's also very difficult to push out of. People get stuck here for, well, funnily enough, about 5 minutes at a time. And I would not be shocked to see Witness just go for the reset here. They don't have to push out. They don't have to risk anything. They know what their out is. And they know if they're given an inch on mid, they can roll it all the way. That's exactly how they play when they feel like they've got their opponent's number.
Now it is on MANDEM putting this entire game in motion. We see the normal cardboard line-up cookie cutter. Some people might even eponymously say it is Boulder, only then dealing with the sentry gun who is on top right, which is on top right, doesn't have a gender. And now Thomas is also, well, protecting it. The 7 hold comes in, buff again, not bombed through, but yeah, that is ultimately only then a solo suicidal pack that they have signed.
Yeah, they're trying to spam out that sentry, get rid of it early on, but Thomas is right here over on the Pyro, trying to keep that one alive. Ron's, and they get lots of damage onto Lucas. That is an opportunity, but it's not one they can really make good usage of. Haunts has to retreat as well here, and they're going to have to give up a lot of space, but again, Winners aren't going to push out.
Boulder walks into a, well, that was apparently those 3 stickies were the mistletoe for that deity. He was turned into a pulp. And what I really like, if you approach this last point, you have 4 players walking in from the left side, and that is the distraction for a solo soldier flying in. But this time they did it inversely. They had 1 soldier coming in, and then 4 players walked in the other side and damaged Lucas so much. That was so very clutch and could have almost been helping their last push, but I think they want to do it again.
They can. Rons jumps through, goes down. seeming like a repeat of about a minute ago. It's not really working out right now for MANDEM. They're going to have to change things up if they want to find that success. The Pyro's still around. They're checking for spies. I think, well, Witness are settling in for the long game.
Inzo as well on that Nostromo Napalmer for all you Pyromains out there. They are giving us this time here the sweet talk. Inzo on the left, not a usual, very usual lineup here for Pyro, but he wants to deny the stickies. Hans finds the stickies that were not denied. Anyway, the Pyro now backs out and is Hugo trying to initiate on June. It's down to 40 HP.
Oh, it's so low. A nice try by Hugo, but doesn't quite work out. Again, Lucas is looking to get that spam down, see if he can catch someone. Boulder feeling up to the task, potentially, but doesn't go down quite just yet. We've seen these players eat a lot of damage, and they need to be a little bit more careful and try and find that opening. Enzo is over on Scout at the moment, not off classes. Maybe they're feeling that they just got to go for a trade because they're running out of time, but they kill it out. That is a double bomb. The sentry goes down, but not much
That was
else.
so very beautiful. You can already see June's season very early in the year, apparently. She was surfing out. She had her dancing shoes on, and it is Zems a little bit misaligned there on that initial damage source, but they were able to control the perimeter here on Witness Gaming. Only 40 seconds to go. One Uber, maybe a dry fight. That is the only time that you have.
Ooh, Pappy taken. That's a big opportunity. That's exactly what MANDEM needed. With about 40 seconds on the clock, it might be go time and T-5. They're looking for a chance. They're looking for the Uber. There it goes. There they go. The Uber. Well, the air blast from Thomas is trying to keep them away as much as they can. They don't get much out of the Uber, but they do get in. The crits are damaging to say the least, but the space is not gained materially. They're going to have to give it up.
It was maybe give it up. Give it up. Otto is really only then beaming. He didn't even need to use it at all. He was so conservative. Just positioned very conservative. Zems is turned into a bloody pop. I don't think they will push out. They don't have the time for that. And this will most probably not reset since Thomas is on second and he's realizing, well, if we clean June out of the picture, that's a wonderful 40 for us. Our ascendancy is only ever increasing, and I bet MANDEM did not expect the scout to be on the second point to just instantly kept that out.
That's the thing, is Witness Gaming, they're on top of things again. Give them any opportunity and they will make it happen. So instantly ready to pull the trigger on everything. They're looking and eyeing up this second now with a very empty belly, looking for a chance to just push that into last. And with 60 Uberad, it's going to be very difficult for June and MANDEM to hold this position for any meaningful amount of time.
Hitherto, it has been on Hans' shoulders, yes, to sort of try to equalize things greatly. He was controlling the flower. He's trying to pry them up from behind. It is only a 25 Uber advantage situation. That is what you want. You want to buy time. And now Peppy is healed on the plateau area, but June has her Uber up.
Yeah, they're going to be able to play it on this right-hand side. A little bit extra space. The sentry is right below. Boulder is fighting out Pappy. Takes a lot of damage in it. And in fact, Bronze is the one to go down. They're already losing space. They're already losing players. Zams is already low. And it feels like it's all just spiraling out of control right now. Tomas, however, gets picked up by the sentry gun and they will eventually deal with it. That provides them exactly what they needed.
Oh, I'm just shouting the keywords here at you. This sentry gun was not addressed. It shot 4 different players. Thomas ultimately going down to the robot, and then it is opening up the space for Balder to plow on forward. June was calling for it. You saw she recognized this little dent in the armor, and 80% advantage for them. Not only wonderful defense of that last point, but also keeping all your chess pieces in the game healthy enough, and now trying to traverse through Flower.
Yeah. Pappy going to try and provide that pressure, but there's the Uber. Just keep them alive, keep that pressure going. They don't want to lose much, but they lose Zams. That open exchange, that is an Uber that doesn't really lead to exactly what they want. They get 2 players, yes, but again, look at the fact that Otto's still alive, that Lucas is still alive, that there's very little for them to actually work with. Haunts even tries to get aggressive, but to no avail.
I'm almost certain that Zems wouldn't have jumped this far in if the call didn't come in, that there was a sniper on the field. They maybe would have even been better off it, but now we see Otto is beaming his players. They were so easily able to reciprocate through this choke. Ron's again addressed on the side flank, and they want to perish some more players. The live subscriptions are individually ended, and 40% again. It's still a 0-0 scoreline. It's crazy to think that 4 points almost were already kept at this time frame on Granary.
Yeah, I mean, it was a much higher pace in terms of getting around, but not higher pace than we've seen from these teams. We've seen them go back and forth and back as they seem to want to look for their chance to attack. As again, that pressure looks come through the right. Hugo gets picked, but it won't stop them for very long.
It probably won't stop them here. They're trying to have a little sketch to work off. Thomas is now only then sneaking in Peppy as well. That was a little bit of a segmented suicidal wave, and it bears fruits for MANDEM if they want to push out. Lucas Tang on an 8K.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's just been finding trap after trap and, well, catching players who have no business being as aggressive as they are. And it's great to see from Lucas Tank. You know, sometimes my criticism of him is that he is too aggressive, right? Because he is very DM heavy. He's very good at landing those pipes and just winning out in crazy positions. But hitting those traps, being a little more patient, it's great. And I love to see it from him.
That is what the majority of players have said over the decades over Lucas. You think he's out of position. He's never out of position. You're out of position. And I'm taking you, your medic, and everyone else with me. But now it is Witness Gaming having another go to crack it down here. Inzo is shot by Thomas, who is coming in from the right side, seen from the defending point of view. And Hugo is creating the space since he's jumping through very high, still on the fitness. Peppy follows alongside that. They have created another opening.
Yeah, they take down the sentry. He does fall in that, so they don't have full power at the current moment. Pappy is not exactly in a great spot. With Lucas going down as well, this will be them retreating a little bit here. I don't even see a push out. The soldiers are at least sacking, or at least pretending to do so.
I hope that the enemy teams, or the enemy team rather, not teams, recognize that this was only a fake bomb, but it does open up the space here, and now they are on the second. Again, it's the repeating slideshow for everyone. Also the repeating slideshow for everyone who had his eyes peeled toward our LAN adventure. Lucas is, however, controlling this choke a little bit, plastering it with stickies, and they back off the idea of pushing.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to get deterred by that one. Lucas has been putting down ample traps to provide their team with support. But with Hugo gone, there is starting to be a gap in Witness Gaming EU's hold over this middle point. Right now, Lucas is stepping up aggressively to try and make up for that, but could easily get caught if not careful. Auto is nowhere near. Auto is nowhere near as they're looking towards that cafe, but they don't commit towards it. They have the Uber. They were potentially looking for some sort of trade, but don't pull that trigger. Thomas is going to step up, get some vision, get some information, let their team know what's going on.
It's very unfortunate that I don't hear Mumblecom, since I would have liked to know if Balder wanted to even take this exchange. You saw there were too many stickies. They wanted either to take the exchange and have Ron's bomb in, or it was only distraction for Ron still to bomb in and then force the enemy medic, but it doesn't really matter since now it fades into insignificance. Balder is a little bit healed here on the plateau. They want to pre-fire the enemy team's medic, and now it is Hugo bombing in. However, they are opting more for the side flank of it. Hans is immediately turned down.
Yeah, and they can't even get a trade back. Hugo and Ixie are going to heal back up. They'll be fine. And then with them right as rain, Witness Gaming will look for their chance again. So they're going to try and capture, well, the second point. Maybe get that force onto June. You see the soldiers starting to step up. Hugo's looking for a chance, but Enzo's keeping them checked for now. As the Uber comes through, they're going to try and get their trade. They do indeed, and there's going to have to be Zams and Boulder kept in this one. But look who's going behind. Thomas is coming for the wraparound and catch haunts here. Auto gets caught, however, and perhaps leaving their team was ill-advised. They do take June back, and Thomas is starting to clean things up with that position, with the back of their opponents. They're going to be able to clear off a couple of these more, but Boulder turns around just in the nick of time to keep themselves alive, and it's MANDEM taking control.
Vastly superior positioning by MANDEM, and they recognize that Thomas tried to give them a red herring by snucking through to dungeon, but they simply ignored him, and afterwards now it is one soldier against two soldiers and a beam. Horns a lot of damage, farming his damage stats, but ultimately it was not enough, and even still Witness Gaming still on the midpoint. MANDEM didn't cap it out, and they were again, backing out of it. Could have maybe played it a little bit more aggressive, but then again, if you screw up one too many times, then this 0-0 scoreline will turn 1-0 for you in your disfavor. Hugo is addressed, and they're playing this slow and methodical.
Yeah, I'm liking it here from MANDEM. This is what we need to see from them. Look for their opportunities. Don't give these openings to Witness. Thomas is just about going to win over Rons, but will go down to Boulder. The cap on that mid is coming through. And MANDEM are itching for another chance to crack open that last.
They're really turning on their cranial brilliance, or, well, their cerebral fitness, I should rather say, since so many people are walking forward. But you can see how Boulder's always calling for this aggression. Now Hans has this wonderful panorama jump apparently, and he's only then securing the little area and has a health pack here to deny not only the enemy team but also to, well, gobble it up. Never mind, now he's losing at 2 versus 1. Thomas and Hugo were on his face, and that eventually was not able to help them out, since this little bit of a flank was not that of a, not hazardous enough.
Yeah, you can tell these teams have been playing Dr. Kawashima's brain training for the DS, because these guys have they've really started to elevate the game, and especially when you see teams play against each other in these best of threes more consistently, it's great to see those neurons firing.
Well, it's even better if you see soldiers firing their rockets, a barrage of rockets, but ultimately not enough. Hans is always trying to shoot something up. I mean, he's a roamer after all, but Rons is also, when you think back of LAN, he's trying to get his team on his shoulders and sort of be the hero in the comms. Now they are opting to the cafe side, beaming Boulder. Boulder wants to peek, wants to snuck out where the stickies are laying there in front of his eyes, but Baron and unprotected. This little bit of a statement play was early, but it allows Rons here to bomb in. Lucas not really bothered.
No. He's going to chill out, relax, make sure they don't lose too much. 2 players on the flank looking to provide that pressure. Maybe give some space to Witness for that push, but no one seems to be stepping up just yet. They were kind of looking cursorily, trying to explore and see if they can find something to me.
It's a full surveillance here. It feels like they're even watching it and playing it from the STV as we are, but it is like an octorial view. They always recognize, yeah, there's a soldier like left, and now the team is trying to push right to distract it, and it's wonderful how they're able to detect, but on both teams. So very equal, 0-0 scoreline is still not even that high. Kill streaks up so far, only really Lucas than 8k early enough, but it is Hans being dealt with, dominated by Hugo. He had a 2-1 that was a little bit hidden in his disfavor. Ixi came in, but again, doesn't really open that many venues.
No, it's the push and pull, but it's until someone really gets off balance that it really starts to open things up. June takes a decent amount of damage. Same is true for the Zams, but they are still okay for now, and June is going to heal everybody up, make sure they're right as rain.
Alright. I am here now to extemporize with you. I want a double scout. I want any scouts to do anything, because this is usually what is unexpected. We saw it earlier from MANDEM, where Boulder was coming in with Inzo, but this time they're not really doing it. They only really did it on Granary, and the doubles soldier bomb with 1 fake doesn't do enough if Witness Gaming is on it, and they are on it. Now it is Inzo now coming in for Hans. They have this triple segmented aggression here from the cafe, from the choke, from the flank side, from Flower, but no one is dying.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for them, no one died on their part, even though they were lacking some of that healing in some of those areas. But when you're pushing 3 different angles, unless you manage to find something quickly, that pressure doesn't really amount to very much on each of those individual angles. So you've got to try and find some leverage. And right now, it's been very difficult for MANDEM to find that leverage. But with 1.5 minutes on the clock, they've not got a lot of time to go for before that reset. Haunt jumps in high, tries to get that damage, and does get a lick, but not enough to really, sink your teeth into.
And doesn't even scrape the surface of Otto, who is dodging it out, not even by surfing, just walking up the stairs, down the stairs, up the stairs. Can't even touch him. Anyway, he is stepping on him at the end result. Boulder only then really looks at the enemy team, conveys that message where they are positioned. Hugo is on top, Ixi is patrolling the backlines, Thomas on the plateau. They are so very set in their own endemic environment on Witness, which is we hold back and we wait for MANDEM to do anything.
Yeah. Happy trying to provide that spam to keep that cafe push from happening. It's going to be a 3-pronged attack yet again the player from, well, mid is not providing too much right now until Boulder starts to step over, and June eats a lot of spam, but will keep Boulder healthy for now. Takes that exchange, but it's going to be that continual push, and you can see that Bronze is desperately trying to put that pressure onto the actual point, but Witness Gaming, they step away and they come back as Inzo is behind, and Horns is looking for a chance to push up again as Boulder goes right on in. There's the Uber, they get the force, they get the trade. But Inzo's still behind, looking for a chance to play spoiler with the extra pressure that they've got. They're going to have to back away from second here. The jump on in, they get damaged, they kill Lucas, but can they get all in? Can they keep this going? Boulder is below. They have to worry about Pappy as well, who gets Inzo behind, but doesn't tank down anymore.
Hugo's jumping in, Hugo's
last.
blocking that point, they definitely can. If Rons is able to cap it out, only 2 players here on the front, it is Ixi, it is Thomas, it is Otto, he is healing, he is providing, but not enough health at the end as MANDEM finally clawed to a 1-0 lead, and that wasn't even stereotypical play. That was wonderfully curated on that second point. Rons with the most clean and crisp rockets that you've ever laid your eyes on, and then Zems coming in. They kept their main damage dealers alive. So much damage on that plateau area. Then taking the Uber fight because the enemy team has such a disadvantage on the health numbers. Wonderfully recognized by Boulder, charging into the lobby behind, and even though they had a slower Uber duration, they were able to shoot so many people apart. 1-0.
Yeah, I love that from MANDEM. Understanding the backline is so weak. Auto, weak as anything, goes down. Same is true for Lucas, as potentially our momentum slipping, but with Boulder and Zams down, you know that there's a lot of pressure on June right now. They will hold for now, trading players back and forth, but importantly, not losing the medic of MANDEM.
They are able to perpetuate, though, the success story. It started with Otto. Well, dying early on that mid.
Oh, he's getting so aggressive. The damage is there. Runs, keeps themselves alive, and gets the kill.
Hugo blows himself up on the environment, but now it is also some funny talk in the chat as they are, well, they're nice people, they know each other for a long time, so they can do that, but Zems is only then walking through this choke area. It was really wonderful again. This time they didn't shoot the ancillary players, no, they full out committed onto Otto. June kept behind so much. Rons was also calling for it, you could see it to keep her alive, and Lucas only has to look at enemy teams players that are already very ready for sticky traps. Only 20% though, that felt like it could have been more, but eventually I think it will turn into a little bit of a scrappy last push.
Yeah, pushing in from below, they're going to get a lot on there. Boulder, they're going to be kept alive as well, so they're holding on strong. He's getting some of that beam. Auto trying to keep Tomas up as well, but no one can step to the point. That heavy is just a little bit too much. The Sentry's gone, yes, but not much more. And I love that MANDEM actually called to back out before they lose anything at all. They knew that Uber was coming. They're only going to lose Zams in the end, so that's a lot better than it really could have gone.
With this gaming, don't have to worry about any backcapper as well. They watched all the angles, even on dungeon. Seven players on that cap. Otto was forced in this ultimate push to last, but this time he could use it on his own consequences, and when he wanted. Thomas is eradicated. Ron's counter jumps, where Scout is a hard counter, but not if you face Ron's, and Hugo is deleted by Inzo. Can they annihilate some more players? Witness Gaming is ending all of their live subscriptions.
Yeah, really nicely done. It's going to be, well, another push from MANDEM into that loss. They're going to get that cap going. No one's going to be able to play spoiler to it. And again, actually, it's the heavy gap coming out from Ixi. That's going to be the focal point of this. That and the demo. If they can deal with one of them, it's going to be good. The Uber's pop to try and keep them alive. A lot of time on the point right now. If they can step to it, June has no one. As unfortunately they slip away, and that means it's going to amount to nothing in the end, despite what a brilliant start to that push. And it's only June alive. And that means no Uber, no nothing. Auto is at 96% and is going to have in just a tick.
Hi, I'm June. Drops Zems, drops Boulder. That was pretty harsh. I mean, I don't want to obviously be too harsh here on Premiership Medics. She already is beating herself after that, I can tell you that much. They lost 2 players in the midst of this Uber, and that looked so wonderful since Boulder not only gained the cap time, but was then reflashed, and it is 50% Uber advantage here on Witness Gaming. They want to initially annihilate the enemy team. You can see Thomas is calling for it. They are a little bit delayed here since there's a trap, but still a big Uber advantage to tie it out.
Yeah. Gotta be careful. Enzo over on the sniper, looking to catch a player who pushes through main, but it looks like it's the majority of the team pushing through Valley. Does start to maybe switch that up. Maybe going to go for a... No, okay. Going to take another angle. Look for a chance to pick one of these players. They hear the shot, though, and that might mean they're a little bit more aware of it, and Enzo going back to change.
Going back not only to change, but, well, to buy enough time for June to tick up enough in the equal or in the parity here, but Hugo tries to, well, serve that parity to the enemy team. Hans is dealing with a 2-1 in his disfavor on the defensive side, which is not really what you expect, but if the people are very fast to open up this flank, this will happen to you. Zems also has some interesting comments about what just happened to him, and they haven't now kept the second point, and I think they even want to turn this into a force.
Yeah, you can see it come on through, right? Witness, they look at the opportunity, they say, Zams is dead, this is perfect, this is exactly what we want. But they couldn't make it happen. Ixie gets kicked out of that last, and the same is true for Pappy, but sure, they get runs, but it just means that there's not going to be really that push coming out of last, and that's not really particularly surprising. This is a hard last to push out of.
Not yet, but Zems is obscured by the environment, and now he's back into respawn queue, and that will definitely make it very easy for you to not only walk in for free since those sticky traps, but also to spam out across Hans versus Thomas. Thomas gets a lot of cap time, and they are turning this into a force.
Yeah, that is pretty darn good for Witness right now. They committed towards it. They were threatening. They wanted to maybe win something, but off the back of Haunts and Boulder and Enzo, I really thought that wasn't going to be the force, but too much damage coming through, and June feeling under the pressure, right, with Zams already dead. What options does she have really available to her?
She definitely had to pop the main fault lie 20 seconds earlier when Zems was dealt with on the perimeter, and now we see this Uber. They are pouncing through here, the Troika of Doom flashing so many players. Thomas already getting the cap time, so much cap time, and they have to deal with it. Eventually Lucas is eradicated. Now the soldiers come in, the big daunting prospect for the enemy team, the boyfriend bomb, those Barrage bros.
Yeah, I mean, they tried pretty hard to make that one work, but unfortunately they're going to have to bounce back to the middle point. And it is going to be Uber used, obviously, by June, but it's going to be parity in terms of that, right? It's going to be 30, maybe it's like 5 Uber ad, which is obviously nothing. So we're going to be sat in this position again, playing between second and mid. But this is fine, right? If you're MANDEM, you're very happy with this. You've got that point in tow. The onus is absolutely on Witness Gaming, but the problem is when the chips are on the line, that's when you've got to be most scared of Witness Gaming.
Let's see if they can turn this river into a turn or into a flop instead, since Hugo is a little bit addressed, but we saw this on LAN as well. Sometimes it's better to even bunker in on last, since you have so much space here to make something work from Witness Gaming and then turn this into a very aggressive last push. But you can see how MANDEM recognize that fault that maybe lay in front of their eyes, since they're already turtling here on last. Hans versus Thomas. Thomas shoots Hans in the air. Hans wins though. Lucas Tank is still coming through, but it is 1-0 lead still for MANDEM here, and they want to, yes, bunker in.
Yeah, this is still fine, man. I'm very happy to play this position. They don't have to overcommit here. Trading soldiers yet again. Once it's going to be up in just a second. And the sniper coming out from Thomas. And he had relative success with this earlier. Let's see if he can manage to make that happen again.
MANDEM is keeping their composure. I alluded to it earlier. If you push out and you stay on second, that's pretty bad for you, but they were able to back out. And now, Pappy, I will keep saying this name like this. If you keep dying, Pappy here, Rons is now winning that 1v1. And it is the sniper peeking from the left. Thomas, Zems was a little bit pinned early. Receives the crown.
I saw Lucas Knight get tagged there, and I was like, ooh, that could be something. But too far back in the kind of corridor means they can't find too much more. But Boulder gone. Still got a lot of these kind of key players alive. It's only a sniper away, but that doesn't mean they have a lot more space to work with.
Thomas was winning against Boulder, the 1v1 with the body shot, and then it allowed so much space. Rons was able to deal with it, however, and so much curtain fire. The barrage of rockets were still flying forward. Ixie has to deal with it, and now the stickies are in front. Rons is walking in to set stickies. Thomas is still peeking.
Lucas?
Peppy's.
No! Oh, the Uber has to come out. Lucas in a brilliant position manages to get behind, get the force on June, and that's going to be
Boulder's
nothing.
chasing.
The kill, Boulder wants it, he can taste it. Auto's so far away, can he catch up? No, he's just going for the catch. This will provide the space by the time that their team oh so sorely needs. They're moving up players, which I'm not so sure about, but if they feel confident, this is perfect for MANDEM.
Thomas is a back spawner. I think they initially want to try to turn this into a little bit of a force play, which is very important here to not lose too many players. Again, MANDEM only then secured 10 seconds for the sake of them capping that second point, but not being able to be caught out, wonderfully recognized by them. So now only one last uber disadvantageous last defense here. 30% only separate June from having, but it is now Witness Gaming coming through.
Sentry on the right-hand side in a unique spot, provide that pressure, but not for very long, as already they use a couple of players. Zams is off the board, and that's going to be oh so brutal. The Uber is in hand. It's not quite there. No, it doesn't come. And at the moment that they oh so sorely needed to hold out, MANDEM cannot make it happen, and Witness Gaming, as I said, when the chips are down, do not count them out.
Again, the biggest gambit that they had was losing Zems there, and notwithstanding the fact that maybe sometimes the Heavy is able to slip into the defensive role, but not only do Witness Gaming recognize how they're able to turn it back, but MANDEM, they will be distraught after that, as we are trotting probably into a golden cap round here. Not enough time for either team to cap it out. Inzo catches the earliest sticky of that mid fight, but it is all, well...
Okay, that got cut short. That does mean we're probably... Wait, what does that mean? I was like, does that mean they got the map?
They have to restart.
You have to restart the whole map. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I mean... Not surprising that we see that one not go into any rounds. As MANDEM, though, right, you're looking at this and you were like, yes, we've held out this entire time. We're doing well here. When Zams goes down in that last fight, you could feel your heart sink where it stands, and it's got to be so brutal to feel like you have it on lock, like Sunshine was yours and have to be playing this overtime right now. Whereas I think MANDEM are Witness Gaming are looking at this and going, thank God we got that. We can close it out here. They feel confident. They feel comfortable. I hope that MANDEM can reset and keep themselves in this, because they were looking good on this map. This looks like it should be theirs, but again, Witness Gaming have that X factor.
They not only have that X factor, which is, by the way, wonderfully put in words, because there's only one X in their players, and that is Ixi. Ixi is always the X factor. He is always coming in clutch. This time we saw, I didn't even see, I think there was multiple damage sources being flung Zam's way, but it's crazy how Witness Gaming are always able to come back so much or so very clutch. But to put it bluntly, I hope that MANDEM are not too distraught by this, but yeah, I mean, they looked well. They definitely looked way better than you saw how methodically they were approaching the second. We gain 10 seconds. That is only 10 seconds gain. Now we back out again because we don't want to lose too many players on that second. And then also wonderfully played always by Rons. He didn't really hit enough damage to kill Thomas, but he was able to deter him from walking out anymore, and very conservatively played. Again, wonderful, but sometimes a demo suffers, and that was too much damage on Zems. I will repeat, but was there anything else that you recognized?
I have to say, a player I really want to highlight is Boulder, though, right? Like, we were talking about the fact that scouts weren't able to have so much effect for MANDEM over on Granary, but to be fair, Inzo as well. But Boulder steps up, goes 20-6, drops 263 DPM, manages to provide so much for their team, not only obviously fragging power, but in keeping Jude in good position, keeping Jude safe. That's why this time it's 4 deaths on June compared to 6 to Auto. They are a great duo together, and I always would like to highlight them when they're playing together. Alongside that, Inzo has been doing a great job as well, picking up. Ixi, I mean, honestly, for this game, went a little bit under the radar. Bit more like a submarine, right? Able to still provide that value, but in terms of stats and in terms of how he showed up in the kill feed, not quite there in the same way. Still providing that threat, still providing what they need, but not quite the same.
It's the ever-recurring theme when we mention Boulder, since he's cleaning up all the damage that Rons and Hans do provide, and you can also see how he is wonderfully not only cleaning up the damage of his rhyming soldier pair, but also he's simply taking those Uber trades, since he's not scared of the enemy team at all. But just to lay the storyline in front of you, Granary was well, hopefully taken with a granary of salt by when, like, they got that completely snuck out of their hands. 5-1 to Witness Gaming. Now we see it here, 1-1 tied out. MANDEM had this Sunshine map in the palm of their hands, but once more Witness Gaming snatching it out, and we're into golden cap territory, which means 10 minutes on the clock, and the first team that caps a last point at all wins. And if that doesn't come to pass, we're into golden cap mid-fights, which we are kind of used to from LAN, but let's see how this rings out.
Yeah, I mean, we hadn't seen it much online, as you say, but the LAN was absolutely rife with them. It was good. It was exciting. And, I mean, what better for an upper bracket final than exciting as we get into this golden cap. Sorry, not golden. Into this golden round. See who can take it here. I don't know. I mean, it really is a toss-up. I really do think that.
Apparently I'm washed up. There are 30 minutes now on the timer, but it is still the golden cap rule, so let's see who is coming out on top here. They need to keep their composure. Lucas Tank is already completely stickied off. Zems was a little bit faster. Now Peppy is bombing Rons on this top red cafe area. Inzo tries to walk through. Rons is the first victim on this Tetris area. Thomas is, however, responded in kind by Balder. Ixi and Hugo, they are sharing this deal frag on Inzo. The deal is closed, and Witness Gaming take that very first mid-fight win on the golden cap round.
Yeah, and I want to highlight just how much of a difference this mid made. We've seen a lot more successful mid play from MANDEM over the course of this map, and a lot of it was because they were able to shut down Lucas right in the earlier parts, and we saw that in the early part of this round. But as soon as Lucas was able to bring to bear, it was oh so brutal for those soldiers. They get hammered, they get locked down, and Lucas will not let them move. So that's a big part of how the mid has played out, at least early on here in Sunshine. Lucas is feeling warm, feeling hot, and he's looking to, well, close this one out 2-0 in this series.
And the major predicament that MANDEM was also facing is losing Rons, and afterwards it was all onto Hans, but now it's Hans on the flank here. He's trying to control it for a little bit more of a prolonged period of time, and Hugo wants to be the catalyst here to open this all up, to stay alive afterwards. It was not, though, coming to fruition. A 1v1 trade, you can see it here flaring up in the kill feed. Peppy is demolished, and June, Zams living, Otto, Lucas living. Inzo coming in the pipe though, and Lucas Tank is keeping himself company. Otto with the bolt.
They kill Boulder and Inzo there? My god. As you said, Otto kills Inzo, but while that's happening, that's crazy, because that means that Lucas trusted him to hit that, and then went, okay, I'll kill Boulder. The coordination on these guys is crazy, and Witness Gaming showing again why they're considered the best team in Europe.
And let's see, as on this oncoming advent here, this advent of this fight, Thomas is already charging through. Rons is behind. Can they deal with him? Well, they're sort of ignoring him at this inception of this entire fight. Now the Uber exchange is coming out. Glowing player against glowing player, but apparently now it is June having to multi. Thomas is recognizing this already, completely charging back into this lobby, creating all the space, and finally it is Witness Gaming on the last of MANDEM again. Rons still trapped in behind.
Yeah, trapped, cornered, taken out. Thomas does not give them any quarter right now. Inzo already over on that heavy, wanting to try and lock down this left-hand side. Anyone else who tries to step to their team, Zams is laying that damage down, locking down those corners, locking down those doorways, but provides time for Rons to get back up. No Uberad really to speak of, about 10 maybe towards Auto, but not enough to really make that happen. As we might be settling in for a long time, settling in for that reset, because I know that right now MANDEM, they don't want to slip up.
It's wonderful how Hans was able to intermittently change out with Rons and buy time. Zams pipes Thomas down, but it was a formidable job on Hans. I bump in 2 rockets and choke. I'm 100 HP, bump out, board. Then I bump into choke, 2 rockets. That was so funny, and he was just buying the time for Rons to do it all. But wonderfully, as I will iterate, wonderfully dealt with those intermittently changing out players. Now, Witness Gaming, they looked on the ropes on this map. They can do it now all. Ixi on Sniper.
Yeah. It's going to be difficult.
Let's take a breather.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to likely be here for either no time at all or 3 minutes, right? This one is locked up. at least for now, until we see that pick come through. The sniper for Ixie has been terrifying so far. I feel like every player on MANDEM is good on sniper. It's not a great thing to have to deal with. Hugo infamously went pretty crazy on LAN, and we've seen Tomas already. If they can find this opening, this is huge, as right now that left side very much gummed out with the sentry, and also with Boulder over on the Pyro.
Ixie is peeking from his own left side or from the right side. If you monitor it from the defending point of view, he's still trying to scope it out. Very cookie cutter as well, stereotypical Peppy bombing through to shield the stickies apart, allow the space, big air shot to deter runs from jumping up any further. Peppy now is dealt with though, and Ixie only had like 2 shots there, but ultimately not creeping up to enough field progress.
Yeah, it's difficult to find sometimes. Hugo gets a little bit lit there, unfortunately, as Boulder is not happy to let you hang around, but he tries to land this shot to finish him off, but doesn't quite happen. Tomas is in. They're trying to make that right-hand side work, but they're still caught in the choke. Tomas is actually jumping forward, trying to put so much pressure on, providing that space for a team, something that sometimes a scout can struggle with, but makes it out of dodge, doesn't go down. That damage onto Haunts is still somewhat worrying if you're a MANDEM fan.
Sometimes the damage on Peppy piles up. That took a lot of time, however, and it was, again, wonderful. It's crazy how long Witness Gaming was allowed in this right flank, seen from the defending point of time. Ixie is turning Zam's head into a bloody pulp, takes that head, throws it right out of the window. Can he find the head of June? She's hiding, she is dodging, she is weaving, she is diving, but the headshot on Inzo.
Oh, it's so sad. They do trade a couple of kills back. Both in Ixie and Tomas are gone as well. But with that sentry gun down, things are also open. June drops as Pappy finishes them off. And that is the opening they need. The Uber's still there for Auto. And that is a death knell right now for MANDEM. As Witness Gaming, they can hear that bell chime. And they know it tolls for MANDEM.
They want to take it into the grand final now. It was hectic early, then it was eclectic, then it was hectic again, since June had to dodge out onto the low ground. But you see all those skips, all the ammo breaks, so many people had to commit, but alas, it came to pass. Crit streak is picked up by June. Boulder is on the field. They're taking their sweet time here on Witness Gaming, coming through now.
Yeah. Going to be that Uber coming through quickly, trying to get them the space. Hasn't achieved all too much. They go to the sentry, they finish off Haunts, but there it is. There is that heavy to try and keep things alive. Boulder providing that support for their team as they march on forward. Pappy has to jump away from that, and they have to disconnect. That is not what you want to see from Witness. That was their chance. They could hear it.
That was not only their chance, but now they have to stare down the barrel here of June using June onto Zams, and it lucks out. Also from the, like a flower. At the river morning, Lucas is hiding so very dangerously. Can he deal now? No. 5 players in his face. Hugo is bombing in onto June. She doesn't have anything to protect herself. She has her own team though to protect her, running out of breath in their own compartment. Only Thomas rather forward. Not even he can win a 1v3. Surgical precision, sticky on Auto, and that might again.
Oh no. Help. Sorry, I was gonna highlight, right? Like, I was gonna say that Auto wasn't gonna get any ad, right? Because June was right there. It was spawn and Auto didn't get to heal anyone for quite some time. But June got back spawned, had to then come to the forward spawn, and even then still hasn't healed anyone. So it's gonna be, oh, okay, only 10 ad in the end. I thought it was gonna be higher. That could have been pretty critical.
Sometimes it's void in this disarray of actions, since some people are taking more damage than you might expect, and now it is, well, equalized for the most part. 20% only then separate them, but I'm almost certain that not only does Witness Gaming not realize this, no, but they are on the defense, so they will probably not be able to pluck it out to such an aggressive stance that we saw earlier. MANDEM, they were down and out, almost akin to what Witness Gaming suffered in the normal matchup on this 1-1 tied out, but they were able to come back.
Well, indeed. It's a slow pace again for MANDEM. Looking to try one.
It comes in.
I didn't even see him.
Haunting the skies. Hans comes in with a wonderful, perfect precision rocket there with the skip jump, and that might help MANDEM here to claw Sunshine back into their own hands. Automatic drop medic situation. The axiomatic threat that you have to deal with is Hans, and now it's all on MANDEM.
Oh man, I you know, sometimes you're specking people, you can't see their nameplates. I didn't even know where Haunts was. jumps in, takes him down, cracks things wide open, and Witness might be the ones to keep their eyes peeled right now, as it is not looking so hot for them. But keep in mind, this Uber can fail. This Uber can, well, just not find everything they need. They move in, they take centrally, they take the left-hand side, and already putting players on, but their spam is coming through. Hugo desperately trying to contest here as June keeps themselves safe right now, as Lucas is taking a lot of damage. A lot of people are taking a lot of damage. Just that Tomislav tears through. And again, MANDEM, they can't make it happen, much like what we saw from Witness Gaming earlier. They're beaten back.
Jinx these last pushes. I would have liked for MANDEM to at least do it. Now it's Crit Streak again, picked up by Otto, since he realized it's probably a disadvantageous position that we're in anyway. So now let's use the Crit Streak here on Lucas maybe. He's trying to scope out the angles. Can he be prominent enough and profoundly curating it akin to Zems, but now they're only really watching it. Rons is turned into dust, into blood dust. Now the Crit Streak coming.
Oh my, Zams is picked off immediately. Pappy, yes, falls, but you can see it. They're desperately fishing for something onto June here as those stickies go oh so far. That Uber only gets them one, and June is still alive. This is MANDEM's chance now. With 5 minutes on the clock, Hunt tries to make it happen, but it's just the force. That's what they needed as well.
But Hunt is
going to try and get behind.
He is the Spectre that is haunting Europe. He is the Spectre that is haunting Otto. He barrels out of there, scurries out alive. Fantastic. You saw how Balder wanted again to take this Uber advantage and pluck them away, but they were already so far out positioned here on the side of Witness Gaming, but the soldiers were able to come out on top and sort of ameliorate the position by simply C-tap jumping. Hans and Ron so far ahead. Crit Streak still on Otto. Is that a liability? He won't build it like in time if he switches to Uber now. So it is a Crit Streak against an Uber.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult chance, but we've seen that these lasts have been hard to crack. Can MANDEM finally deal with this one?
I hope so. The apparition that they probably have to trust in is, again, I will repeat myself. It is Hans. He is doing so well. If they win this off this, then it is definitely on him. They are trying to opt out their angles here through the dungeon area. I can already see Zems is being buffed, and there is a sticky trap on top. Thomas is on sniper, but now they're pouncing through again. Hugo is in behind, landing on the rafter. The sentry gun is turned into bloody pieces, or rather into dust.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? There's so much damage coming out. June even goes down to Lucas here. And you've got to be so careful in these situations. If you use the Uber, yes, but that crits will tear you apart if you don't get enough.
Only 3 minutes here on the total timer. Now, it is an Uber gun used by Otto. We have been flip-flopping all the way. If people think, yeah, okay, maybe the energy is down after LAN here on these people, land sickness, land death, who cares at all? These people are pumping, they are sanguine enough, they are radiating with this energy of this is still our Premiership season to nail, and Otto has an Uber advantage. It is only slim though, only 20%, not sure if they're aware of it. June is already looking at the choke, you can see it, Balder on top, Inzo as well, on Tetris. Now Rons is counter jumping.
Yeah, manages to take down Lucas here. This is big. The flank is still pressuring, and Zams is still potentially open, but with Pappy and Lucas both down, a lot of the ability to spam, a lot of the ability to control over these key junctures is just not there right now. 2 minutes on the clock, and not a lot to work with. MANDEM, they see it, they know it, they have to make something happen.
They're shifting from a trot to a counter to invalidate their earlier failures on pushing last. Rons and Balder are not in this realm of existence. The cap time was not enough. I thought that was a little bit of a suicidal wave. June is surfing out. Can she hide out? Hugo is still on her, and the force comes out.
You can see it there. MANDEM, they wanted to put players in, get the force off of Auto, get something going. But they don't get it. They don't get anything. In fact, they lose their own Uber. Here comes the Uber back as you can see it. Balder is trying to hold them back. And in fact, June will make it out, but they do fall in the end. The space is seeded. You know that MANDEM can't control very much here, but they're going to be able to build up.
Balder is hopping around, they can't catch him, and he brought so much time. It is in theory, or at the end, in reality, only, well, in theory and in reality, a equal Uber percentage situation. Only 1 minute to go. Both teams are able to completely build up this Uber advantage. Only MANDEM, only Witness rather, are able to push this last point though.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, when the chips are down, Witness make it happen. They can find this opening even when it's even Uber. This team is just able to make something out of nothing. Transubstantiation going on here with that team, but not quite just yet. They're biding their time. They know they've got quite a while to work with in terms of 40 seconds to make this push happen as they try and take control over the right-hand side, and that Sentry is nailing Hugo down for now as they try and spread out.
Go into respawn apparently, since he was overestimating the protection the barrels had and underestimating the range of the sentry gun. The sentry gun is now a big pile of scrap. Inzo is caught by Thomas, 3k on that man, and they want to turn the screws here already. Ixion last, and the stickies come out. It is June still beaming her players. She's using now a lot of still Uber duration to play for, and the high ground control now. Boulder is reconnected with the beam.
Oh, they jump on, stop away auto. They're gonna be able to lock it out. I thought Witness would be able to get that one right at the very end there, but they are denied.
At what matter in time do we think that those people have their last pushes nailed down? I was thinking that at least like 3 to 4 times on Witness, 3 to 4 times on MANDEM. It's crazy how they are. I'm not saying that they're lacking like ideas or such, but the enemy team is also so profoundly set up on their own defensive stances, and we're heading into a golden cap mid-fight win here, reloading not only this map, but also our sobriety. Hopefully, a little bit. This is where it all boils down to.
Yeah, it's been a tight one. All the way down to that
understatement of the century.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been great. We're still reeling from land flu, and part of the symptoms of land flu is that we go to golden mids, right? It seems to be what happens. I'm absolutely here for it. I desperately want MANDEM to win. Now, I'm a little bit biased. I'm friends with June, but also I want 3 games, man. I want more TF2.
Yeah, can't have enough TF2, and that already exemplifies how close not only this concrete season was, but also how healthy the Premiership
for sure
division is, and this entire community. We saw it on LAN, the close games, well, the grand final sickness striking there, but we're in the upper bracket final. That's not the grand final. You have zero excuse to have a grand final, sickness to overcome here, and I wouldn't be surprised if now both medics run crits to mid, and it's sometimes they roll the dice, they spin the wheel of fortune on those death match compartments, and we take it on from there.
My worry is if we're talking about crits, there's no player in the world. There are 2 players in the world who I really trust with the usage of crits, right? I'm looking and I'm going, wow, Tomas with crits, terrifying. You know who else is terrifying with crits? Lucas Stank, right? Mm-hmm. I really look at this and go, this is Witness's wheelhouse. They should be able to have a lot of success with here. I think the answer of how this fight goes well is that, well, very simply, MANDEM, they deny away Lucas in the earlier part of this mid. And this time, they don't lose a couple of their soldiers and lose all control over space. They need to be able to keep them alive, to provide everything they need to keep that fight going a little longer. But, keeping away from the Uber. They want to get to the one fight before we get to that point.
I will revive an old mentality boost that you would say sometimes to your team. If a sniper is staring you down, just walk through the choke. He can't kill all of us. So I will modelize it a little bit here. If Lucas and Thomas are both scary, at least only one can receive the crit charge. So
true.
That may type out. We saw also Zems being very accomplished on early enough, but maybe that is also a theory. Maybe MANDEM can be so aggressive that crits will not be into play, but I'm expecting a charge out of both of these teams, because this mid-fight win on Golden Cap mids is very much defined by this rotating through, and then both medics probably build it up in time. But I would lie to you if I could seriously predict which team is going to take it.
Yeah, I'm really blown away. There's, as you say, countless times throughout the regulation time, and then through Golden Cap, I thought, wow, this game is just locked out. They win here. They get the Uber at. They push into last. And it just can't happen. These teams are so solid on defense. Europe has always had a healthy understanding of defenses on lasts. But these teams really show it with aplomb.
We have to catch our breath again, but here to 4, you will hear in a mere second how the countdown will tick down, and then it is all open
That's it.
for the grabs. Sunshine goes to the golden cap mid-fight win. Red players are double spies who are checking for off classes, but no off classes on mid. We see it now. Both crit streak in very able medics' hands.
Here they are. Zam's going to be there in just a second, looking to duel away with Lucas, who is coming through pretty healthy here. Zams is relatively alone, and Ixie was already testing the woods to make that happen. Ron's gets aggressive, gets a lot of damage, but can they convert that? As you see, Horns wanted to make it happen. Pappy right below Ron.
Still alive.
He's going to have to step back. Everybody's still alive. There go two. As the snipe from also makes it happen, and Inso falls as well as they come back out of that choke. But look at Lucas is oh so low. The jump up on high is going to be a lot, and it's Witness Gaming who find frag after frag, but still desperately keeping on. The combo of this team, the crit streak, is in fact there. They're looking for chances. They want to pick someone. Otto is gone. That's the crits is gone as well. And Boulder picks them apart. Lucas Stank, he's trying to step up. He's trying to show his DM, but buddy, it's just not your time.
Show your hand, MANDEM, Phantom, as they take it here to the third map. Finally, MANDEM win that. And they looked so down and out. Rons was keeping alive for so long. 3 players on Witness Gaming, so low on HP, and they weren't able to clean those players up. You called it out. Wonderful bolt there into those soldiers. MANDEM lacking soldiers. It was 3 players against 4 players, but Zems perfect sticky on to Auto. Afterwards, Boulder nuking everything, and MANDEM take that.
I cannot believe it. Right at the bitter end, you know, I was saying when the chips are down, don't count Witness Gaming out. I really thought, you know, it's going to come down to the bitter end. Witness Gaming, they have that clutch factor, as you said, that X factor. But I feel like on Sunshine, Ixie wasn't able to have that pressure. And it's off the back of MANDEM being much more reserved, much more, you know, just clean with their plays. And it made it so difficult for Witness to get in those, like, Witness, they get under the edge, right? When something's a little bit, you know, curled up, you start pulling at it, and it goes into a wide rip. This time, MANDEM didn't give them those opportunities most of the time, and when they did, they shut it down pretty quickly. They made sure they didn't lose too much, and that was working wonders for them. This is a map where things can also be quite stop-starty, but they can also run away. Look at that last. We've seen, you know, many a back cap here on Gullywash last. People are going to have to be oh so careful. This map is so explosive.
They have to be so concise, and it is, well, very fitting since this game has already been very explosive. They were trusting in the battering ram that battered their game there onto Zems, who that entire, I will again repeat, that entire fight, that entire last fight boiled down to Zems hitting that crit sticky there on Auto. If that medic isn't turned into dust, then this fight goes into a completely different pace. But anyway, we're on Gullywash now. It is the decider. Witness Gaming sort of unceremonially beating MANDEM on Granary. Manning coming back with the life, and the diatribe was in their favor. But MANDEM will be able to maybe book their straight path to the grand final here, and they were able to reciprocate so very wonderfully. I am still expecting Rons and Hans to come out on top. They have impressed me so much.
Yeah, they've been really impressive. And I think there's no better way to look at that than the stats, right? I've been frankly blown away by the way Zams has kind of come around. We mentioned before in the over on Granary that it was like a 70 DPM differential for Lucas Stank over Zams. This time, it's much closer. There's very little difference between these guys in terms of kills and assists as well. Very close. Deaths, the exact same number. Like, it's been really impressive.
But we don't have the, well, space created stat yet. We're still waiting for it. Still waiting for it. If people want to see it, yeah, look on your home monitor, look on your screen. You can read the logs there. I'm more of a person's person, honestly, people's person. We have to look at MANDEM probably now brimming with life and with enthusiasm after that. They are set in red, and blue is officiated by Witness Gaming players. It's all on the line here, and let's see who can poach anyone really, but they're not giving them any space. I haven't really seen people like lacking behind maybe Thomas and Ixie. They are not the dominant force that you might expect tearing through literally everything, because Hans and Rons, this rhyming duo, they're so very, very coordinated.
Yeah, they really are, and they have an understanding of Sunshine as well. It's a map with a lot of movement, a lot of rotations, a lot of space to work with, and they really found their ways to kind of worm behind. And I loved it. I really did. It's great to see these soldiers really shine through. We got to see, I'd say, more from like Pappy and Hugo over on Granary. But yeah, I mean, Haunts and Rons were. They'd eaten their Weetabix them this morning. That's all I can really say. And it really just made for an entirely different map that just felt much more even. And I'm hoping to see that here, right?
It's the main factor as well. That is why I'm talking so much about that. Since it's Gullywash, it is the soldier map par excellence per se. Scouts not really coming into play that much, especially on those enclosed quarters going into the last point. But now we are only really watching skirmishes. Maybe they're also talking a little bit of what needs to change. But honestly, on MANDEM, I wouldn't even say that they need to change that much. It's probably Witness Gaming have a little bit of a more constringent talk here on what needs to change. But
yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think the interesting thing about this is how Witness Gaming deal with the more combo-centric style of MANDEM, right? Because MANDEM, I mean, they put a lot of work into both Zams and Boulder, and just kind of let them go forwards, right? It's actually more akin to, Witness Gaming's at past, where there was a lot more kind of, resources funneled into Tomaz, and just how much they get going. I want to kind of provide a difference between right now the stat lines of Boulder and Tomaz, where, yeah, they've both got about the same kills, but the number of assists, and in particular the number of deaths, is hugely differential. 20 more deaths on Tomaz. That's more than Boulder has. That's 34 versus 14. And I think that's reflected as well in the fact that June has 30 assists to Auto's 17. The fact that they are playing tighter as a duo, that they are finding a lot of success as a duo and making things happen for their team. Whereas Boulder, he often separates, right? Especially with more kind of priority being put on Lucastang to kind of, tank him up. And again, notable in the difference in damage taken between those demos, despite the same number of deaths. It's just a really different look at the combo, and I'm loving the fact that MANDEM are kind of being a little bit more scout focused, as I said, like Witness Gaming's of eras past, and I think it's working wonders for them. My problem is here on this map, Gullywash, this can be a very demo-centric map, so I'm interested to see if Lucastang can just completely put a chokehold on this one.
And I have an issue with over-exaggerating, not pointing the finger on you, maybe some other players that are in chat, were over-exaggerating the importance of locks a little bit, since this is so arbitrary. Since if Witness Gaming just takes it out right here, then nobody really cares about locks. But what you said, I think, definitely sheds the light on the importance, or how this entire Sunshine map flowed for 28 minutes, because only then Witness Gaming were able to tie it out. In the last 2 minutes, they were down and out almost and buried. But still, though, this entire nice raking light that is turned into a highlight on this combo is mostly there because the Haunts and Rons, players are. They are sort of sacrificing themselves because there's so much damage, and I would say that it is even more scout-centric on MANDEM, has ever and always been, because Boulder is not only calling this damage, but he's also calling the Ubers, and he's much more impetuous in taking those Uber engagements. But we're still waiting a sweet time, twiddling our thumbs. It is already quite late, but you should definitely focus your attention span on the monitor. 90 seconds only to tick down. So how about we take a prediction here, Rook? What do you expect out of the scoreline here on Gullywash?
Oh, man. I actually think this one's going to be relatively high score. I'm thinking 4-3. I'm saying it's close. I want it to be close. I'm going to be honest with you. I want this one to be an absolute nail-biter. Look, I want to have nothing left. I want to chomp at stumps. I do think, I got to rep my boys. I got to rep MANDEM. I think they can do it. They've looked confident in the previous game. It went to the very bitter end. But I think that was I think that was Witness Gaming pulling out their star power, pulling out their, their little, not hacks card. I didn't want to use that word. But their, magic card, when they just, turn up and they just show up and destroy everything. They might not have much left in the tank, I'm going to be honest with you, because they had to do a lot to pull that one off, to even even it up in the first place.
Mm-hmm. To pull the bunny out of the hat, but eventually the trap card was a little bit activated by MANDEM, since Witness Gaming so dominant
by
on Granary. I thought it was done already after that very first map, but they were able to palm back. And you're championing for Inzo. I'm not sure. Do you say anything in pre-game or what was happening?
What? Sorry, I'm sorry. I was just thinking about the fact
you're
that...
just hyping up Inzo, I think, in the
Yeah,
pre-game.
so there's a Yu-Gi-Oh card called Jinzo that allows traps to be revealed. So I was like, Jinzo, it's perfect.
Maybe Inzo is Jinzo.
Exactly.
We are now unloading into our third map here on the upper bracket final. How close then can that get? Well, both teams say as close as you want it to be. Lucas Tank is now entering from the choke, and it is Zems reciprocating on top, coming through Banana.
Yeah, already behind. The sticky's got datted. Hugo is there. Inzo is calling it out, saying, hey, they're behind. I need the health. We need some space to make it happen. Bronze dives in. Again, Sacrificial, trying to make that play happen. But it's going to be Lucas is the first who falls. As that actually managed to happen. Boulder pressing forward does go down, but Zams is starting to hammer home. You can see Pappy is trying to catch Inzo, set something up for their team, but Rain's alive at least for a time. Auto will not let them escape. And it's the battle medic of Witness Gaming that sets them apart here.
June has to hurry out, and you saw how the double soldier cleans off Ixie point blank. Wonderful, they were able to sustain the lead, but what happened there on mid is both soldiers high bombed, but were on MANDEM, but were able to be dealt with. It created the space, but eventually they were not able to follow up, but it's runs bombing in from below the point. I was talking about it earlier. Retain, sustain, and ultimately attain that medic advantage for your team.
Yeah, no, honestly, managing to find picks like that is just how important these soldiers have been in this game. Ron's stepping up. We saw Horns get a couple of absolutely dastardly medic picks in Golden Cap earlier, but well, Ron's is certainly no slouch either. As he said, the rhyming duo setting themselves up for success. Pappy jumps in as they try to commit. The same is true for Hugo as the Uber is used here. It's not all doom and gloom. It's only a 20 ad, and they clean up a couple of these players. Pappy does actually make it out. Not too much of a loss.
He's being chased. Can Peppy be spicy in the backlines? Well, they're just leaving him there to his ultimate fate. Honestly, the pattern recognition here for me is that June is being a little bit forced in unfortunate scenarios, but it's better if you have your medic forced in unfortunate scenarios than to have your medic die in even more unfortunate ones, which is happening to Auto. And Peppy ultimately is addressed.
Yeah, I don't think this map is going to be a particularly fun time for any of these medics. They're going to have a lot of pressure, a lot of angles, and a lot of really difficult to deal with positions for those soldiers to come through. And especially with the spam coming their way, you've got to be ever so careful. Let's keep an eye on that back. Exactly who's going to come through where, as already that pressure is going on, and Tomas is trying to spread out wide and push forward for their team. Contesting that point as Hugo joins the fray.
But it is eventually now Otto pulling it onto the scout here. Can it be Lucullian for them to make a meal out of that fight? Otto had an Uber advantage. Ultimately, though, June was catching up to par. Now the soldier classes are coming out. The damage is very hefty, favoring the MANDEM people here. Once is in the front. Inzo cleans off Ixie. Lucas Tank down as well. Otto is automatically turned into the ground, and MANDEM, they want to take it to last.
Yeah, really nicely done again by June. Had like about 4 or 5 pipes shot at her, and she sidesteps them. Takes one, yeah, but importantly doesn't take that second. That could have been a really dastardly situation, and against a player like Lucas Dang, who this guy just does not miss pipes most of the time. It's really impressive to see. So MANDEM keeping a hold of their advantage, as he said, retaining that Uber advantage, and now they're looking to campaign into that enemy last.
And let's see the river area. Well, that is not where they want to have their confluence from. No, they're only really trying to pry here from this little, forward ground set on the Shada. Boulder is looking through the window, just cheekily watching it. Now the Ubers pop, and now the Avarices are unlocked. The sentry is only then turned into a big pile of scrap, and Peppy down as well. Only a few cap time seconds here. Ixie now a little bit pinball down. Thomas still in spawn. The cap is half time cap through. Lucas coming into play now.
Yeah, they didn't get many picks there, and unfortunately Lucas could just sit back in this point and keep themselves alive. June is beefing with Tomaz there, wants to get the melee, but it's just no dice, and that's Witness Gaming finding the fight they wanted, right? That's them holding strong, making sure they don't lose too much, and that's how you hold out on that point. As long as you've got that demo sitting in water, and there's no threat to the demo from water, they can sit pretty, and Lucas is a very pretty man.
Well, can't really oppose that opinion, but now they are able to descend onto the enemy team here and stipulate their own success. Since Otto still has the full 100% in his bank, it is even more beautiful for his team to trust into him as a spearhead, not only, you know, locking it down on last, you die afterwards, but you have the enemy team spend so many resources on you, and it is now a soldier flying through here. Peppy is already trying to control the sky, and, well, they're backing off the idea of it. Now it's transforming!
Once makes it happen! Auto is automatically removed. And that is huge. They get the kill. That's all important right now. They keep June alive. And yeah, I mean, look, you can lose second here. Kind of don't mind so much. Ixie is trying to get something cheeky going, but is spotted out. They're not going to be able to get that back up. And frankly, they're not even going to get second here as the push comes through from the majority of MANDEM. And they'll just hold this one out.
It was very dangerous territory for Zems, but he was able to keep himself alive because he was sort of just reserving his own resources, and it was wonderfully played after the drop came out.
That was like 3 directs nearly from Pappy as they just remove Zams from this one entirely. With Boulder gone as well, June is going to have to pop to make this happen. They've got to use that Uber advantage, otherwise it's going to get completely squandered here. But they can't get anything. They can't get forward enough. They can't get back enough. And yeah, June makes it out, but that's now a 50 Uber out of the Uber side of their own.
This Aegis of this Uber pop was ultimately able to, well, serve some sort of sobriety for the most part, but the main problem was Hugo was in behind, Thomas was dealing with the threat that was opposed to him, Ixie also ran in from behind. They had too many Witness Gaming players behind and no real focus fire on who should have been dealt with early enough. Also wonderful positions for Witness for WG, and now it is Auto. 0-0 scoreline, the bongs, the dongs, they are all coming in.
Yeah, it's going to be the sticks on point. Thomas is just timing it up. They're going to have those soldiers jump on him, but they deal a lot of damage in that. Ixie's behind, Ron's is gone, and Ixie's going to get that time. So just steps on in the nick of it, but there's not a lot of health. Auto's just walking towards it. No, I'm just going to fight it. Auto takes the control.
He could have, they could have defended that, but it was one sidestep from June. You called it out. She is sidestepping and dodging the pipes. This time it was Auto scaring her away. It was so very hazardous. Zems was not close early enough because he was dealing with Lucas. It makes it in a little bit of an anticlimactic way 1-0 in the disfavor of MANDEM. They have to do it all again now.
And that's what I said about this map, right? It's so explosive. It can be a slippery slope. Hugo jumps in, trades 1-for-1, but importantly onto that demo, which means now this is just not a mid you can play as MANDEM. They're taking so much damage. Boulder is cut away. June actually gets the health and manages to make it back. MANDEM.
They're re-entering this fight.
Alive.
They can feel this. This mid is palpable.
Wow.
This epitome of success, but tactile enough from June, tactical even, to pick up the health pack and then pump out the heals, relaying this information. Guys, I'm weak, please wait, please don't all initiate at once. We're able to real heal her players. Now Auto with only like 10% advantage doesn't really matter. Let's see if Rons can cook something up. No, he takes the damage. Hans is leaping too onto Auto. So wonderful serve.
Yeah, Auto had to hightail a lot of that one. Did land, took a bit of damage, but didn't go down. Importantly, and it's looking good. It's looking fine for them right now. They're not too much of a problem, and with Haunts as well for MANDEM, they don't really mind. They're just going to reset to this situation. They're going to look for a way to burst through.
Another installment of the stalemate. What changed is 1-0 now for Witness Gaming. They can pry, they can look at every different side flank, and who is ingenious enough to poke through. Don't see any off classes. Inzo and Boulder are, well, a little bit here positioned on the flank, only watching their own projectile players being healed up enough. They're trusting into Rons, they're trusting into Hans. Rons is already walking again through the choke. 1 rocket, 2 rockets. Hans pounces through, double skip jump, but ultimately does not find out.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't be successful every time. You've got to have some failures, and I think that's a... Is that a pause? That's a pause.
Why do we keep talking about failures now? It's the failure of keeping this game below midnight time for me, since we're already quite advanced, but I'm all for it. You already said it before, the apparition for Witness Gaming is still coming out on top. Again, also, you can't always have a 100% success rate, but it was very easily relayed. You could see it. We saw it multiple times before. Rons is re-peaking. He wants to take 100 damage, 150 damage, backing out, allowing the space for Hans to pull through the choke. We only have some guesswork. This pause happens 90 seconds in the future. It could be technical. It could be tactical.
Yeah, I'm unsure. I mean, obviously, we don't really know until we get to that point. I'm hoping it's not a tactic. I don't know. The timing looks weird for it to be a tactical pause, but I'm hoping it's not technical, because, you know, if there are technical issues, it's never a great vibe. And we've had such a great series so far. It's been truly tense. I've definitely been feeling it. You know, my hairs are standing on end, and I'm excited. That one does seem like a tactical pause. Okay, it does seem like a tactical pause, which is a weird time for it. I guess, you know, they're both kind of solidified on their positions, but I'm interested to see what kind of comes of it, right? Because I think I'd assume that it's MANDEM right now. They're like, okay, how do we make this happen? How do we pick this open? Because last time they just couldn't play onto that last. I think they've got to be wary of water, right? Because they had no one pushing water, and it was very easy for Lucas to just sit there and go, okay, well, no one's really threatening me.
Mild leeway shot there I'm taking out here. Also, my Nisk a little unpaused, maybe to have a player reconnect to the server. Didn't we see anyone timing out, but it could also be theory crafting here. MANDEM win that last push, and that is so grotesque of a feature for Witness Gaming to look at. No, they want to slow it down, have a talk about that. Could be taught enough for MANDEM to just nuke it into a 1-1 tie, but we're still waiting our sweet time. Let's see where people are positioned right now as this pause. Well, it doesn't come in now because 90 seconds in the future, but we see Arto beaming, Thomas beaming, Lucas Tank. They are a little bit more opting for the Victor side of living, whilst even Rons, June and Zems, even Baller, they are all on choke, but you can also really see, I think Zems wants to rotate or at least shoot some stickies toward the little Victor side as the unpause comes out.
Yeah, no. I'm just retrying so I don't have the animations. So
Ice skating players
yes.
This time around in the season, but well, phantasmagorically we have to also look at, well, people now. I'm not really sure who to trust in here. Peppy is only really looking from them afar. He shot some stickies, a little bit misaligned, but it's weird to like cast this little bit of a transitional phase. But now transpositional arrow might be the case here for this Victor side. I called it earlier. They are like trending to the low ground and they're meeting each other 1-1, face to face in Victor.
They're taking a lot of damage here and wanting to try and provide that support for Horns, but it's just not happening. They do take down Thomas, which means there's a potential for a push here, but they're down a player and they just don't have it. Lucas catches Boulder, gets some damage as well onto Zam. They've got to be a lot more careful about this. Sam's just going to have to walk back, help out June, and get themselves to a safe position as Rons and Inzo are coming in now to sort of fortify the situation.
Mollifying the situation was not the case, however, since in lobby you saw Hans and Boulder try to do the very fabled pincer movement and create another flank, but they were culled eventually by those projectile players from Witness Gaming. Thomas is a little bit standing there on the door frame, but this entire framework is now this is where the pause comes in. So some people were talking about each other, and apparently that was no Uber last push. It was only them really in the transitional phase of second to mid.
Yeah. Really chilling out, looking, poking, prodding, attempting to find some sort of opening. Ixie and Hugo are behind right now, looking to have a bit more success than we saw from Enzo and Horns earlier, as they want to try and wrap around and catch some players and really get the surround on whoever's coming through. Pappy bursts through to try and find that space, try and get that bomb, but caught in the air. Enzo and Boulder never going to let you touch you.
You see how WG tried to rely on their positioning, but positioning doesn't simply outweigh the enemy damage sources, and now they're trying to pounce through, even though 2 players down. Hugo as well, Ixie, they tried to do a wraparound play, but that was thwarted since the hubris was a little bit too much to deal with. It is now Zams plucking the stickies for. They are trapped here in this choke area. It might even be caught out, but it is eventually Lucas Tank. The curse of Lucas Tank. You think I'm overextended? You think my combo is overextended? I do not think so.
Oh man, you know, I'm impressed. He continually impresses me. And I think, again, this is a map where he can absolutely reign supreme. I was saying it in the pre-game that he should be able to lock this one out. He could have an absolute chokehold over this match. But he's got to make it happen, first and foremost, and he certainly showed it there.
The soldiers from Witness Gaming are also exhibiting the same traits as him, since they were able to conservative their own position, then shoot the rockets, buy enough time for people to rearrange their positions. It is Hugo, it is Ixi in River, and Thomas in main, receiving the beam, only really relaying the information. Heavy top right, Pyro on the Nostromo, Napalma, something like that. On the top right as well, Hans on the ring, on the rim, and June beaming players. It is a very slow, methodical approach to this, only really exchanging damage sources.
Yeah, not committing much towards it. Uber on both sides. Going to be Haunts keeping an eye on water as Ixi wants to play around with that and set their team up. The arrow come through, Haunts is still alive, still safe, but Ron's cannot be said the same as Ixi continues to apply that pressure. Hugo looking to join as the rest of this team is looking for a chance to push forward and deny. And they really want to stop Ixi from being such a thorn in their side.
They want to upscale their position and just simply force June.
But so much
get them, you can
it's almost there, they just need
Inzo on last! Inzo is the
Christ.
savory factor, and I was calling earlier, they can push out now, but this is the sort of two options that you have. Otto is even forced here, very weak. I don't think they wanted to have it like that, but still enough cap time. Thomas is charging through on border. The point is an empty husk, but only then people are reconnecting. It turns into a scrappy DM fight. Thomas eradicated. The pipe serves some sort of justice to help out June, but you know, you can either bomb a medic or you can make a team panic by simply adding so much pressure on that point.
So I was saying, Ixi's such a thorn in their side right now. Great bomb coming in from Pappy doesn't mean you deny the demo, which means that point is all the more open. And this is why I said this map is absolutely a slippery slope. You can lose that last in a second. We already saw it, in fact. Witness Gaming just taking control of that in the prior round, which they actually won. MANDEM need to be aware of this, need to know this, and they almost lost a round again and almost, frankly, sealed their fate based on the pace of this map. Luckily they don't. Luckily they reset, redouble their efforts, push out into second, again are looking for a chance to move forward. They don't have much of an ad, if really any, and they're not going to make good use of it.
Very ambivalent. It could work, it could also not work. Now Otto is, again, they've done this like 5 minutes in the past. They're opting for the big door side, trying to poke through. All of them are pulling through there. Only then Peppy is controlling the choke. Very standard as well. Thomas poking through this little bit of a baby door, but no one is really snacking in from behind their lines. Eventually, if all people are clumped up, the same damage sources go on the same players.
Yeah, good spam coming through does mean that a lot of these Witness Gaming players
But it is
often trying to...
Peppy bumped him for choke. Peppy bombed him. That was the suicide. We had our views distracted. All of your viewers had their views distracted. We wanted to give you the fourth wall that was broken down, but Peppy realized that, jumped in from choke. Now it is Hugo being in perpendicular dominance fashion, landing up. June, a bolt into your head, my friend. Nothing is fathoming you.
No openings just yet on either side. This is fine, right? If you're a Witness Gaming EU fan, you don't care. They've got the lead. The onus is 100% on MANDEM here. Problem is finding that is going to be easier said than done. Do they have that ability to turn something from nothing? Can they get this win? Even if it's like a, last second win, like what we got from Witness Gaming to, put it to even. It's going to be difficult.
Gaming is always trying to coerce their way through this big door, but it is now Thomas being well plucked out. Zems is coming in with the pipes, inevitable. It will be their demise. Peppy also very low. Border is not really finding the shot, but it's Inzo charging in from this little bit of a choke area, which was opened up because Rons and Inzo, they were both dealing with Peppy. Lucas Tank.
Yeah, you see that jump come through. Rons is putting that pressure on. Gets the force! That is what they so direly needed. The cap has come through on mid. The jump, Thomas goes to the sky, and when he comes back down, unfortunately, brother was Icarus and just hits, dies, and well, Alto isn't quite alone, so not going to be able to get the kill, but that is a significant ad for June here. It's going to be 19.
Almost Zems cratering there, but that was wonderful as well, by the way. Zems is the man to watch at the moment. Those pipes, all the pipes hit, and then also keeps alive. Well, 2 HP, 5 HP, 10 HP, but still keeps alive, so it's 60% Uber advantage now. Let's say if they can evoke the same success formula as on Sunshine, now River. It's the confluence of those players walking in with a...
Yeah. Eyes on water, the buff went in, they took control of these players almost instantaneously. The shot is going to come off, they're just going to stand on it. Players have got it, contest as much as they can. Pappy goes strong and defends the point. The rest of the team is starting to pile on, looking for a chance. They'll get the point. And Witness Gaming, as I said, sorry, not Witness Gaming, MANDEM, as I said, find the round they needed to even things up. And now Witness Gaming can't just sit back and coast. They've got to fight for their right to go to that grand final.
Gotta fight for your right to take it to another mid-fight, maybe golden mid-fight win, but we'll see. As they both have to dither so much since you called it out. Now it's much more of a dynamic game, I'm hoping, since slowing it down is not on the table anymore. Maybe both teams slow it down, so it's into another golden cap territory, but we see another mid-fight here unraveling. But June already down on the count. Can't peel herself up in the banana area. No, they were able to snuck her out. Rons is bombing in, but alas, thwarted.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about a gold mid. That was pretty much a diamond one. Exactly what Witness Gaming needed to be able to set themselves apart. And this could be an absolute roll right to last. Inzo wants to try and find a shot. Decides, maybe that one's not happening. The Stixies on the left are called out, but the spam is coming through. And they don't have long to work with. As soon as that second goes and the last point opens up, there's not going to be a lot of time to work with. Trying to use the height. Hugo puts the pressure onto Ron. They're standing on, and no one can deny. That is Witness Gaming going, okay, well, that's a med pick. We're going to take it over.
No one can deny that this is how Witness Gaming are taking it back. Diamonds are formed under pressure, and you see how wonderfully they were able to do it. That was a desirable and worthwhile stratagem. But alas, as well, I hope you're right there in the background. But
sorry.
You saw that Hans tried to sacrifice himself forward and then force Auto, didn't even have it yet, but hit into secret. That was a very nice conversion rate though from the midpoint on. Now we're starting all over. If you don't lose June though in the banana, yeah, she's already very fast out and healing her players in her own choke. But it is now Hugo, she's very low.
Yeah, Hugo's behind. He's looking for a chance to jump up the pole. He's aware of your tricks, but deals with them deftly. And now it's Thomas and Ixie looking to put that pressure on. Boulder taking a decent amount of damage, managing to keep alive and pretty healthy as well with that beam, which has been, frankly, placed upon him all the darn time. Enzo will go down. Thomas begins to wrap around to look for that chance to pack June up and take them all the way to last again. Thomas is behind, goes down, doesn't make it happen. The cap again towards that mid. Lucas is going to be relatively healthy. And as the rest of the team comes through big door, they shy away as they know they just don't have the positioning.
You see the difference here is that everyone is trusting in people pronging forward to kill June, but then you're negligent on your own medic's positioning, so Auto fell down, and it was all curtains from that on, since Thomas tried to then re-peek from behind, but they had the call, and they have the call. Zems has his sticky a little bit, well, misaligned, can't jump in initially, but ultimately is able to clean off Hugo alongside with Border. Hugo is dominated by Rons, and now even still, MANDEM want to reciprocate and replicate what Witness Gaming did to them, alas though, not finding enough frags, being able to turtle back though on second.
Yeah, my question here is really this Uber ad going to mean too much for Witness Gaming? Again, they have no owners to push out, they don't have to do anything. I think what it lets them do best. No, okay, they are going for that push. I thought they had that sentry up, but they cancel it. They go, well, we've got the ad. We might as well go for it. I love this play from Witness Gaming. They don't shy away from that aggression. Hopefully, we'll get to see them put in some brilliant play. A big high bomb coming from Pappy, trying to find that damage. Gets it onto Rons, but no one more. Haunts is taken away as that force comes through. And Witness Gaming aren't able to get exactly what they need as, well, they trade soldier for soldier.
And MANDEM want to charge through like a raging bull here. Yeah, I mean, Witness Gaming, you want to purport to us that you're a very aggressive team. Well, let's see that on the flip-flop side, since we are also very aggressive. Losing Rons, losing Hans, still though trying to rotate it out. The scouts are very healthy. Thomas wins though versus Hans. He's still a very annoying net in behind, and can they net him down? It is Inzo versus Thomas, 1v1. Ultimately, Inzo wins. Enough health bars to, well, completely shut him down and incarcerate him, but only then it limits them to 20% Uber advantage. I think they still want to, yes, traverse.
No, I respect that. You know, you get out points in just a second. They're going to come through. That Uber doesn't amount to very much. They get rid of the sentry, but again, gain very little else. Boulder is tipping away on the edge of that point, wants to set up their team, but the Uber is back right out. Hugo goes down, but actually they're keeping on up. They managed to fall back just in the nick of time, only losing really Zams and Horns. This is something you can recommit to.
Oh, Rons was not trusting into his own position. He backs out from it. Could have maybe even collected and poached Lucas in this lobby area, but no way of knowing that in hindsight. It is Rons now receiving Quarrels and Quarrels by Otto. They are only then, well, installing themselves on second. It is a 2-1 for Witness Gaming. Still have to keep that in mind. Plenty of time though to play for, and a little, well, workable Uber advantage for Ju.
30%. I think in some positions it's workable, but getting onto auto in this position is just not going to happen. You're not going to get that space to make it happen. So you might as well just, you know, try and look for the force, try and look for the pick. Get something a little bit more raw. The Uber is there. You can see the players are trying to go for it. They're going to get forced in the end, but can they make auto do it as well? A lot of flash going between the two members of the combo here. Does mean they have to be oh so careful. Zams will be the sacrificial lamb as Ixie comes in to try and clean on up, and June remains alive for only a second as Auto snipes her down. With Lucas Lang falling, can't they take down Auto? No. Boulder can do no such thing as Witness Gaming shift into high gear.
Let's turn that sacrificial lamb into a scapegoat. Rather, instead, Peppy was the winner of that entire fight, since he hit on top of Choke. And you saw how uncomfortable MANDEM were. They wanted so desperately to clean him off that side, but they were not able to do it, and then being crushed there, Zems trapped in behind. Hugo is annihilated, and that might serve some sort of parity here in the Uber stakes. In the deathmatch stakes, though, Runs is bombing toward the Choke. Otto is completely trapped out, but the jumping top, jumping down. Eventually, they end up coming out on top. Peppy down, though. June, it forced all the resources on Otto, but June eventually is cleaned up. Inzo still punning through.
Inzo winning an all-important fight there. Hugo, however, is behind you. You've got to be wary of that one. You'll go down instantly. And I think Zams is not long for this world either. Hugo keeping their eyes on the prize, and like MANDEM there, it does mean that they'll be able to hold control of that mid.
Crazy how they are so constrained here, straining my nerves a little bit. You saw how, well, I can't get analytical, it's too much action. Peppy's already in from behind from the second point, but ultimately only really creates the space for his players to bomb in. That is very easy for Lucas. Take a double sync sticky onto June's face. She is dealt with. Runs, Hans trying to respond in kind. Otto immediately eradicated. Let's see if they can perish some more players. Live subscriptions are only of ephemeral origin. It is Zems hauling out.
Life subscriptions, they should have been looking for life insurance, frankly. They need some of that money, some of that moolah to get them going, hopefully here. But, you know, you can see the desperation in MANDEM, right? 5 minutes on the clock, they're a round down. They know how long these things can take, especially here on Gullywash. Especially with the way they've been playing so far. They want to get something going, but it's just no dice. Pappy falls. That's an opening. Can they make something of it?
This venue into the second point didn't even look that accessible, but it was Rons winning against Peppy. Boulder, however, is dealt with by Ixie Thomas as well. Now the flank, or the scout rather, comes into play to deal with those singular stragglers being low on fitness. Lucas is already charging through. 3 players down, Boulder respawning, Inzo being beamed up.
Yeah, it's just not happening. Hugo drops in the net, and unfortunately, swish buddy, as they take that one up to 3. And MANDEM's chances are looking ever dimmer in this situation. Witness Gaming, I mean, look, they struggled. They desperately tried on map 2, but this is looking more akin to map 1, where it started off strong, it started off even, but they really came into their stride. And, you know, it's akin to the maps we've already seen from this matchup. They're looking to show just why they are the best team in Europe.
I infer to this flow of the game, however, since you are talking about being dim, well, let's see if they can turn this lightning now to the capacity of a light bulb from Witness Gaming, as Lucas is already eradicated off his own flank, and now they try to recombobulate here. It is Ron's jumping, it is the players hiding out in Victor, being able and, well, prone enough, healthy enough to come out on top. They need to tie out 2 more rounds, which is sort of difficult. Thomas is already looking at it. I think he wants to be cheeky about it, since Peppy is bombing through the low ground, still has some wonderful skip jumps here.
Yeah, managed to try some good shots. Haunts jumps in, wants to get Tomas, gets some good damage, but alas, takes much more themselves. As June is low, they do get that cap, importantly. It means they're going to get some of those forwards. It means they want to be ever closer for their team. But as we said, the pace needs to really shift. MANDEM need to take this instantly. They've got to take this fight right away, and that's why they're playing so aggressively. That's why Rons is up here, cutting them apart. That's why this Uber goes instantly. They're forcing the trade. They're forcing the shift of auto over to all these different players. They need to make it happen now.
It's not even that intricate of TF2, no, it's just simply Boulder running in, since they have to up the ante to the maximum extent. It needs to be full on force, full throttle here, all work forward, auto down, so much. Peppy as well, wipe your screen, wipe your whiteboard, sometimes wipe your kitchen counter. They are charging through here into last, they need to tie it out. It's only a Hugo spawner. Hugo against the world might not happen in a timely fashion, no, they are going to then, only then, take it down to a 3-2, 2 minutes. Plenty, ample time.
I mean, yeah, I agree with your strained voice rather than your words. 2 minutes is not a lot of time to work with. They can do it. MANDEM can make it happen. But we need to see them like we saw before. And we need to see them, honestly, clean up Witness Gaming better. Because if Witness Gaming decide to dig their heels down, make sure they don't lose too much, by that time, to be fair, by the time this round properly starts, 1 minute 35, it's not going to be very long to work with. They've got to go fast, and they do just that. Thomas is off the board. They're trying to keep that pace going. Lucas is stuck in corner here right now. This is exactly the kills they need. Ixie's getting choked, getting taken a ton of damage. Auto is beaten back. Keep an eye on Horns. Look who's going to play spoiler. Looking the wrong way, though, so doesn't get the med, but everybody else is down. This is what they need.
He's jumping through onto Auto, so can't catch him in the shutter, but it creates the space. That was wonderful. The double soldier sack wanted to delete Lucas, but it made like the pocket scout available for the grabs. Thomas was cleaned up, and afterwards, well, if you don't have your pocket scout to anymore protect your own demo man, then you will fall as well. So they tumble down like dominoes, and let's see if they want to take this fight here onto the second point. It is Zems trying to control the area, and another installment of projectiles being flung open into an open space, but it is only one last push here for MANDEM. 45 seconds to go. They have to conglomerate up and congregate in the lobby. Charge on through.
They need to work as a unit. They need to go now. They need to open things up, deal with that sentry, crack open the actual point, and deal with, frankly, the countless traps Lucas Stein is going to have ready for them. 25 seconds. Time is ticking away. You need to make it happen. That sentry is oh so low. The Uber comes through. Can they find a couple of players? Can they find the space? As you see, Lucas gets the buff. Will be able to be safe in this one with 10 seconds on the clock, with Ixie standing on that heavy. They're losing player after player. MANDEM try as they might to the very last man. They cannot make it happen. Witness Gaming EU say, you don't need to obey, but you must witness.
You must witness and be coerced as well. I was saying it, I will say it again. Raise your handem for the MANDEM fandom, but they showed what it was worth. They showed it all, and they had the hands. It was so palpable rather. Now they have to take this lengthy detour through the lower bracket of it all, but wow, Witness Gaming was able to I don't have words anymore, dissuade the enemy team from just simply walking through. It was also fantastic. I really was lauding MANDEM in my head there. They had a pressure play early on that last push, but were able to turn that into an Uber push and not losing any player, but the heavy ultimately was enough of a daunting prospect, the scouts not coming in, and the inception of that fight, and that helped Witness Gaming so much to recombobulate on that high ground. But I don't want to have too many words. That wouldn't do it justice. What a crazy, energetic game. Everyone was playing chess. Everyone was playing checkers. The final logs might be shown on the screen in a second.
As you said, the game began, right? The series began with chess, right? The teams were, feeling each other out, putting the plays forward, trying to get an understanding of exactly what was going on. And then instantly we saw it on Granary, right? Where Witness went, okay, well, you know what? It's absolutely time to play checkers. They start to hop, skip, jump, find all those frags they so sorely needed, and frankly were destroying MANDEM on Granary to the point where I was like, it might just be a 2-0. But coming back on that second, we saw just how good MANDEM are. They brought it back towards it, and then we came to this Gullywash, right? And frankly, what an astounding performance from Witness Gaming as a whole. MANDEM weren't able to get a lot of their power going, right? We were talking about in the previous game that Boulder was really the one to watch in terms of like setting up their team, having a lot of success. But this is a map that doesn't necessarily lend itself to that. But in spite of that, right? If you ever doubted, keep in mind that Thomas is generally regarded, right, as one of the best pocket scouts of all time. And he goddamn deserves it, right? 34 frags here on Gullywash, just completely leading his team forwards.
Now
Again, shout out to some of these other players, but just putting up insane numbers.
I mean, we just have the Chronicler's duty now to compare a team that is so much focused around, again, this scout. But sometimes if it doesn't come to fruition, you see it here, Boulder 12 and 14, rather 0.9 KD. Not what you want on your core anchor, but it's even worse if Thomas goes 34 and 14. Obviously, those stats are a little bit padded by the sheer fact that MANDEM was spending their sweet resources more on capping that last point and pushing it essentially. But if we also eye up the damage per minute stat, then Rons is topping the charts with 344 damage per minute. I talked about it earlier, Hans is sort of trying to piggyback off what Rons is really allowing him to do, but Rons also tries to always keep the mentality high up. He is shooting the damage now through. However, Witness Gaming Lucas a little bit down further, and it is Zems being even further down with the damage numbers. But honestly, look at your screen. Look also at Medics. 6 deaths out of June, and now we have a, compartment here. 1 drop on Auto, 0 drops on June, but that entire game could have been completely decided on 1 or 2 pushes that just didn't go the way that they ended up being turning out.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it really is just like those small scenarios. And when it comes down to the minutiae, my money has to be, right, on Witness Gaming. There's such a brilliant team at DM, playing those slightly scrappier fights, understanding, right, exactly what they need to get things going. MANDEM have a great system. It works really well for them. But if things go a little awry, it's not always, in their wheelhouse. I feel like Witness Gaming have that flexibility. I mean, again, we were talking about the differences of Witness Gaming's past to Witness Gaming now. It's still a decent number of players who are the same. But they have that flexibility. They have that experience. And I think that's really what allowed them to make this one happen. They changed their style. They've got more of a focus on Lucas right now, and Lucas made it happen, right? Plus 70 DPM on his opponent. Again, that was the difference maker in both games where Witness Gaming won. That's what I'm saying.
I will put, just as a final thought, MANDEM again on a pedestal. At this 5-1 on Granary, I did not expect this total scoreline to ring out.
I agree.
That was crazy of them to come back, but it's a paradigm. It was very paradigmatic game, but I don't want to keep you in here for too long. All the viewers, thanks already. Hopes, prayers, hearts, shout outs to everyone who is watching, but you have just witnessed Witness Gaming plucking their, or even booking their ticket to that grand final. And now MANDEM, they're not completely out. They are knocked down to the lower bracket, and we will see you tomorrow when it all unfolds once more. I have been Dometo. With me was Rook. It was a fantastic game. It was a great pleasure. We had Stu on production. We have been Essentials. This is the Essential TF2 experience that you want, and we will catch you next time.